Welcome to the...
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could start to take your seats, we're going to get things underway very shortly.
Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the PSL. Tonight, the University of Nottingham take on University of Birmingham Lions in an all-out clash between great players tonight. Our first matchup in the women's is going to be ranked 58 in the world, Hannah Ramadan, against Millie Tomlinson, ranked 22. Dec James is going to take on Peter Creed, and Nick Matthew is going to take on Joel Makin, all streamed live on onsquashable.tv. We're also live on Unilad, on England Squash on YouTube, and we'll hand you over now to our MC.
You're welcome, Nick. Thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to squash fans and the wider viewing public to the University of Nottingham and this brilliant squash facility here at the David Ross Sports Village. We're all looking forward to tonight's Premier Squash League tie. The current PSL champions, University of Nottingham versus University of Birmingham. Whilst I have your attention for a moment, we'd like to give a huge thank you to all of our sponsors, in particular Toyota Material Handling, which is a bit of a mouthful, and Mr. Nick Duckworth for agreeing to be our main sponsor this season. Thank you. We also need to mention the Navigation Brewery, purveyors of fine ale, Sodexo for the match night catering, not forgetting My Protein, and finally for the continued support of the University of Nottingham and this wonderful venue, and all the effort and support of the Nottingham Squash Rackets Club, in particular Nick and Jerry. Without your help and the support of all the sponsors, these evenings could not take place. So a huge thank you to all of our sponsors. Just a reminder for all you in the crowd to behave yourself. We're being webcast live across the world, live on Unsquashable TV, accessible through the PSL website, as well as England Squash, Unilad. I think you also might make an appearance on Knots TV at some stage. So on best behaviour. Right, on to the main proceedings, to the players. Let's get them out on court. Please give them a really warm welcome. First up, the ladies. After helping Nottingham lift the trophy last year and then leaving us this season, world rank number 22, playing for University of Birmingham tonight, Millie Tomlinson. Hello, Millie. So against Billy tonight, her understudy for much of last season was stepping up to make her point tonight. An interesting tussle between two former teammates. Ranked number 58 in the world, a warm welcome for Hannah Ramadan. On to the gents and the fourth string tie tonight. For Birmingham, hailing all the way from Belgium, with a world ranking of 78, Jan van der Herwegen. Playing Jan tonight, local lad, back from the Caribbean, the current Jamaican number 2, and our newly appointed club coach, Lewis Walters. Thanks, Lewis. In your own time. Third string tonight for Birmingham, back from India recently in November, playing a CCI event, ranked at 74 in the world, Mr. Jamie Haycox. So just playing Jamie this evening, ranked just a few places higher than Jamie at 62. The inform recently runner-up in his last tournament in France just a week ago. Ranking seems to improve each time I introduce him, Mr. Richie Fallows. Second string match tonight for Birmingham, ranked just one place below Richie, but winner of his most recent tournament in Canada, the Saskatoon Post Open, Mr. Peter Creed. Playing Peter tonight, another local lad, returned from Hong Kong this week, where he reached the quarterfinals and took a game off the current world number 4, Ali Farag, which will do his world ranking no harm, probably push him into the top 30. Currently at number 35, Mr. Declan James. And finally, the big guns, the number 1s tonight. For Birmingham, back from Hong Kong, playing at a World Series event, world number 42, Mr. Joel Makin. Facing Joel tonight. He needs no introduction, but he gets one anyway. Former world number 1, played in Qatar earlier this month, semi-finals of the US Open in October, 3 times World Open champion, 3 times British Open champion, 8 times British national champion, still ranked number 5 in the world, the Wolf himself, Mr. Nick Matthew. So now's your chance to take a photo, folks. The players are going to line up on court. In the meantime, I'll just give you the order of play. Tonight on the glass back with the glass courts, show courts, we're going to start with Hannah versus Millie. And on the court behind, court 6, it'll be Lewis versus Jan. Then on court 6 following Lewis, it'll be Richie versus Jamie. And then we'll get the number 2s and the number 1s on the show court for you. Thanks very much for your time. Enjoy your squash.
Well, thank you, Harvey, for taking over the presentation of the players, or the introduction of the players, rather. Tonight, our first match on the glass court will be Hannah Ramadan and Millie Tomlinson. Tonight, I am Sam Jones, and joining me is the one and only Paul Walters.
Good evening, Sam. Seem to have a pretty strong lineup tonight, so hopefully the crowd here and everyone watching this on streaming will be will enjoy some fantastic matchups.
Yeah, we've certainly got some great players coming out, especially from the Nottingham side. Nick Matthew always is a pleasure to watch gracing the court.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've seen Nick play a lot, and it'll be interesting to see him up against Joel. I think that'll be a really good test, particularly after Qatar, where he suffered a slight sort of back injury, so he's had to take it easy, doing a little bit of recuperation and a little bit of rest at the last week, and he'll be, I'm sure, coming out firing and looking to make a statement tonight with his performance. Obviously, before that, we've got Declan James and Peter Creed, which again should be, hopefully a really good matchup. But for me, I'm particularly looking forward to seeing the ladies' match. I've never seen Hannah play. Obviously, seen Millie a lot. She's part of the England Squash Performance Programme. So to me, it'll be, that really is an interesting matchup where I think possibly the rankings probably aren't going to be a fair reflection in terms of how the result can go.
Yeah, Hannah being 58 in the world and Millie being 22 is obviously quite a disparity, but Hannah, of course, being a student at the University of Nottingham, doesn't have a lot of time to go to these tournaments to keep her ranking as high as she could potentially have it.
That's right, and I think that's one of the real benefits of PSL. It gives a lot of opportunities to emerging players. It also gives opportunities to players like Hannah, who do play the World Tour but aren't playing the World Tour, exclusively
as they necessarily need to.
Yeah, and I think obviously in front of a home crowd, Hannah will be looking to be putting in a good performance. She's really got very little to lose, as I say, in terms of ranking and expectation. People will be looking for this to be a relatively straightforward result, but I think form and people that dig a little bit deeper into looking at the players' form, I think will recognise that it's going to be a far closer match than the rankings would suggest.
Yeah, and even if Millie is indeed the better player than Hannah, tonight Hannah's playing on her home court. She's practiced plenty on this glass court, studying at the university, so potentially we could see her experience on the court having an influence on the match.
Absolutely. I think people underestimate just how different an all glass court can be to a traditional court. It really, when you're playing well, it really emphasises how well you're playing, and if you're having a off day, you can really struggle on a court like that. As you say, Hannah really used to the court on a day-to-day basis. Millie, to a certain extent, will be training on a similar court in Manchester. So, you would say it's probably evened out, but again, it's a great spectacle to be playing a PSL match on an all-glass court such as this.
Yeah, and it's a great thing for someone who's, well, both these players who are young competitors who. But especially for Hannah, she's going to be playing against someone who is higher ranked. Yeah, the pressures is off, as you say, but it's a great experience for her going forward.
Exactly, and I think it's also, she's a model to other people in a similar position. Historically, squash players, when they've gone on the world tour, they've made that decision: am I going to go into education, extend my education, or indeed, am I going to go the route of going on the world tour? And I think something like Nottingham and the commitment they've put in place, it gives the players more options, and they can now very successfully pursue two options together.
Absolutely true. Last time I was broadcasting the PSL with our head coach, Rich O'Connor, and he was mentioning the way that the University of Nottingham, the way the players train, because we do have top 100 players in our roster. The atmosphere here is almost like a full-time squash camp.
Exactly. I know Richard sort of prides himself with the squad that is assembled here, and the players are a real credit to him and the university. It's a fabulous facility. Earlier in the year, we staged the AJ Bell European Individual Championships, which actually saw Millie here reach the final, and that was a great occasion for her. But in terms of facilities, this really is second to none.
And the final of the men's, of course, was a very good match, worth mentioning as well, on this court.
Absolutely. It was a great start to the season for James Wilstrop. It was, I think everyone was tipping Greg to take that title. I forget how many titles he's actually won at the Europeans. I think it's 10.
It's quite excessive, isn't it? You don't need that many. Start sharing them.
Exactly. And, James on that day was absolutely sensational. And both players put on a great show. And I think in many respects probably started to put Nottingham back on the squash map.
Yes, because since the move of the National Academy to Manchester, Nottingham has needed to up its game in terms of its squash capabilities across compared to the rest of the country. So the work that the university has done in building the court and the team at the university and introducing the PSL team is a great thing. Well, not introducing, but improving the lineup by helping sponsor it. Has been great for Nottingham and Nottingham squash.
I think a lot of people probably forget the history that Nottingham has had in squash. And you only have to go back through the years. Gawain Bryars, 4 in the world, and a British champion, John Lalive, Chris Dittmar, indeed, Lisa Opie, Martine Lemoynier. I mean, the list is endless, and it's been a while since, or there's certainly a gap between that heyday and the present day. And I think, as you say, with the university and players like Declan and Hannah, indeed, really starting to put Nottingham back where it belongs on the squash map within England. The fact that it's central within the country again is a huge advantage geographically. So I'm sure, as time goes on, Nottingham will attract more and more of these players. Indeed.
I mean, this last year we scouted, or as a fresher, we got Colleen Ormond as one of our new recruits to the squash camp. So now, for the last 2 years, Hannah has been the top dog. So with the introduction of Colleen, there's a great bit of rivalry going on between those two now for to take the top spot, at least in the Bucks rankings.
Exactly, and it is important that you've got rivalry on a day-to-day basis, and hopefully, the more players that the university attracts, the greater the rivalries, the more intense the training, and it can only be beneficial for all players.
And the last 3 years that Hannah has spent here have been showing off. Her time on the World Tour, she won in 2016 the Tournament de Normes in France in 2016, which was on a glass court. I don't recall the final. Don't recall who she played in the final, but to take the championship like that, which is it's no easy feat.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, you're obviously a student from Nottingham. when you joined the university, what sort of facilities did they have here at that time?
Well, the period I joined at, the David Ross was still being built, and for the first year we only had 3 courts that were put up temporarily, and at the time they were put basically in a tent, so it was freezing cold in the winter and blistering hot in the summer. So quite a range of how you play. So we ended up being allowed to play a lot of our training sessions and a lot of our matches at the park, which was very nice of them, very kind, and very very important for us, because at the time I believe we had 6 men's teams and 5 women's teams who all needed courts to play on, not including all of the social players who needed the court space as well.
And on a day-to-day basis, since the facilities obviously been built and is in full swing, I mean, how popular is the facility?
Oh, the change is so dramatic. I mean, we've got 7 courts now, including the full glass court, which is such a pleasure to have, to be able to use. It's not just the squash facilities, though. It's the recovery facilities and the training outside of just court time as well. We have plenty of strength and conditioning sessions for all of our top 2 teams, which is amazing for their game and helps them compete at the level they're able to. But now, as we start the first game, it looks like Millie is serving for the first point, and Hannah Ramadan to receive. So, as we begin then, who do you think, albeit you've never seen Hannah play before, which is a difficult thing to go off, but as we start to try and watch these first few rallies, who do you think is going to come out on top?
I think it's difficult to predict who's going to come out on top. I think it's just going to be quite interesting to see how both players approach the match and indeed the opening rallies. Millie, I suspect from what I've seen of her, will be looking to be quite solid, looking to play a good length, a good width, get herself into the game, and really probably sort of size Hannah up and see where, if there are any obvious weaknesses. From Hannah's perspective, I don't know, it'll be interesting. I would have thought she'd probably be keen to take the pace and take the game to her opponent and look to take the initiative.
Well, so far Millie's had a good start. One lucky nick attempt that caught Hannah off guard, and one error coming from Hannah early on in this first game. So we'll have to see how these 2 players shape each other out. Millie looks to be trying to play quite a length-based game to try and keep Hannah behind her. I believe these guys have played a few times before, so they'll know each other's styles, at least somewhat. And there you can see the flamboyance of Hannah coming through early on. That was a very nice boast. Hannah under a fair amount of pressure in this rally, but Millie, unfortunately, looking like she's letting her off the hook. You give a let?
It's like I say, I think we've got the replay here, so
It's not the tightest ball.
Have you seen Hannah play a lot?
Yeah, a fair amount. She's quite aggressive, quite hard-hitting, powerful kind of player. I don't think she can play the longer rallies, but she likes being aggressive. She's got that, it's almost genetic, the Egyptian style of very aggressive style of play, but mixed with Rich's coaching, has got that somewhat English able to play a length game and get her basics right.
She certainly looks to be trying to take the initiative, looking to take the middle of the court, and certainly on the volley there you can see on a couple of occasions she's not afraid to sort of take the ball in short. So obviously a player of confidence, and as you say, the Egyptians known for their flair and their attacking style.
Completely, and oh, that's a lovely shot, and now she opens up a 3-point lead at the beginning of this match. Maybe not quite what Millie was expecting. If she was hoping to be able to have an attritional start to this game, then it's not quite paying off for her at the moment, and she's not quite containing Hannah. One thing that will play to Hannah's advantage, at least, is her speed. I'm sure we'll see it at some point tonight, her ability to go full into the splits into the front corners, which is impressive to watch and painful to think about doing yourself. But she's on quite a roll now. She's coming from 2-1 down at the beginning of this, and now she's at 6-2 up. It's a very good start from Hannah.
She's certainly she seems very settled on the ball. Nearly got the splits there. Quick reactions, but unfortunately hitting the ball out of court.
How important do you think it is to get such a good opening to a match? Well, to the first game of a match.
I think it's certainly important for the, on paper at least, the lower ranked player. Otherwise, what you don't want to be doing is just letting your opponent sort of take the initiative. And you can see there, Hannah, not afraid to sort of, try and get in front of her opponent, try and take the initiative. And I think that's really good to see. And I think it's certainly a good tactic.
And the only issue is going to be whether she overexposes and opens up the front of the court too much to Millie, who is, of course, a very talented player, and will be putting Hannah under a lot of pressure if the shots aren't as good as they have been so far. Although if she plays both like that, she might not worry. I think the referees have had a few decisions at the beginning of this match, and all of them been let so far. It's very kind of them. That's a nice change of direction from Hannah. Although I don't think they'll be giving a let for that one.
I think sometimes people forget that possibly the referees are, have also got a match themselves, and they'll be looking for a quiet opening to the match, just to sort of, get used to the players, themselves. Get used to the court, exactly.
Yeah, it's a high stress role, isn't it, being a referee? Even if you officially can't be wrong, there's plenty of people telling you are.
And certainly if the match overall becomes very, very tight, and it's all deciding on the final match between Nick and Joel, then it'll be even more stressful.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't seen a lot of Millie in terms of how she reacts to potentially what she deems to be bad decision making, but from what I've seen from Hannah, it can get quite heated.
It's a fantastic risk there to, change direction.
Great effort.
In the way she's done. I mean, absolutely fantastic.
And you see the way in that replay, you saw the way that Millie had to really twist to even attempt to get to the ball, but it was too late and the ball was too quick by the time it got to her. And that's a lovely drop shot. This is a great first game for Hannah. And she's played some very aggressive squash. All of her shots have come off. The only errors that she's made have been because Millie has played some brilliant boasts, to be honest. But it's a very good opening for Hannah. Hannah leads 1-0 against Millie Tomlinson.
I think Hannah obviously is going to take a lot of confidence out of that. Millie looked unsure of herself. Again, that could be a reflection of the expectation on ranking that she's going to be the player that's going to dominate the opening exchanges, dominate the first game, and indeed dominate the match. And it's not panned out like that. Particularly in those opening rallies, Millie looked the less assured. And Hannah really has got to be, very, very confident there, and hopefully will take that momentum into the rest of the match.
What do you think Millie's coaches will be talking to her about in the interval?
I think initially it's just a case of reassurance, letting Millie concentrate on her strengths. All too often when the match goes against you, you tend to dwell and think about the shots that went down, the things you didn't do very well, and obviously Millie's 20 in the world, 23 in the world. She's a fine player. She got to the final of the European Championships here, so she's a very, very good player, and I think whoever's talking to her in a corner needs to reassure her and reinforce that message. Look, these are your strengths. Play to your strengths. Look to dominate the game. Take the initiative.
Yeah, exactly. And I think an important factor you talked about the mental aspect of the game of being a higher ranked player. Well, now that Hannah is 1-0 up, you'd almost be naive to think that Millie isn't going to put a fight back now at this point. So Hannah's got to not get complacent and really recognise that wasn't an on-form Millie. But now she only has to win 2 games and Millie has to win 3 if she wants to take this match. So she's got the advantage, but the question is the fight back of Millie going to be better than the ability for Hannah to back up, mentally speaking, after coming off quite an easy first game, you'd argue?
I mentioned before the match I've not really seen Hannah play, but a characteristic, certainly a lot of the Egyptians, they thrive on confidence, and I would suspect that Hannah would be exactly the same. You can see there a body language very positive, a speed of movement very, very quick, and it's essential now that Millie really starts to arrest that.
Just like that.
Exactly.
It's that little pause just before she played the shot and kept Hannah just slightly guessing on the tee. It kept Hannah back in the court and was able to play a winner from, must be said, quite a good drop shot as well.
Millie definitely seems to be hitting with a little bit more purpose in these opening rallies.
She's hitting her corners a little bit better at this point. I don't think she was doing enough to take the ball short. Maybe trying a little bit too hard in the first game to feel out her opponent rather than play her brand of squash. But now we're seeing a little bit of drops from the back as well as just straight up drives, which is what we were seeing primarily, I think, in the first game. So it's a good adaptation from Millie, and we'll have to obviously wait and see how this game pans out and see if it works well for her.
I think it's quite noticeable actually in these rallies that Millie's probably trying to hit the ball a little bit straighter, take the angles away from her opponent. Obviously the more angles she gives, it's going to give Hannah a likelihood, a greater opportunity to attack the front of the court. So you can see there more purposeful hitting, probably straighter hitting, and really sort of attacking the back corners of the court, which again it has led on a couple of occasions to to the court opening up herself and being able to put in a very simple, straightforward attacking shot to the front of the court.
Yeah, it's one thing that you do have to be careful of when you're such an attacking player, is that when you're putting those attacks in, that they are with purpose and they are tight and they are well placed, or you've timed the shots at a good point in the rally so that your opponent is out of position for that shot, and so that any shot you do play is not one that can be easily taken advantage of and put away against you or used against you. Nice drop shot from Millie, just finishing off the or tidying up the rally. This is the worry with being an an aggressive player, is you open the court up a lot, and if you're not doing it with purpose and you're not doing it perfectly, you're under a lot of pressure.
It just seems to be a high percentage of unforced errors coming off Millie's racket, and I think the most important thing here is she needs to align that positivity with probably a greater degree of margin for error. I think it's important that she does take the initiative, but it's also important that she's not gifting her opponent 3 points.
Yeah, one thing to recognise is that Hannah is a fast player, and when you're playing against someone whose movement is good, the ball has to be lower, it has to be tighter, and it has to be a better and better shot every time, or at least that's how you feel. So with that, of course, comes the risk of clipping the tin and giving a point away, which is exactly what Millie doesn't want to do, but it's the movement of Hannah is somewhat forcing that slightly out of Millie, so she's got to really take control of her own game and recognise the risks, but play shots with a little bit more margin for error, as you said, like that one.
Well, she's just played 2 attacking shots to the front of the court on the backhand there and won both points, and they've both shown that perfectly in terms of there's been the margin for error above the tin, but the width and tightness to the side wall has really limited her opponent, and has produced an outright winner and then a stroke situation as well. So that's what she needs to do. She needs to attack, she needs to be positive, give herself margin for error, but just make sure that she's tight within the key areas of the court.
And in that way it allows her to work the rally as well as work Hannah as well, because the longer those rallies go on, I think someone who's potentially slightly less experienced than Millie in terms of playing a professional match Hannah might find her stamina isn't as strong as Millie's. So if Millie is able to do less running and keep the rallies long, where Hannah is the type of player who plays aggressively and keeps the rallies shorter. Oh, that's a nice shot there. That little battle for trying to keep the rallies long and keep Hannah moving more than Millie is going to be something that advantages her in games potentially 3, 4 and 5. But this one is getting certainly very close at 7-all. I think it really depends on Millie this game, because Hannah, her quality isn't dropping. She's not hitting errors, but Millie isn't giving her nearly as many opportunities to put those efforts in this game as she was in the first. So the question is, can Millie's quality maintain, or will Hannah be able to play winners off of loose shots that Millie just gives her?
I think on the occasion that Millie's put the ball in the middle of the court, when she hasn't found a width, you've seen there Hannah's, using her wrist, she's changing direction and really opening the court up. And if she's not hitting an outright winner, she's certainly sort of setting herself up very strongly in the rally.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Overall, I think Millie's going to be disappointed with both these games in terms of the number of unforced errors. Yes, she's played well on occasions. Yes, she's looking to play a little bit tighter, a little bit straighter, but you can see, she doesn't appear to be that confident, and certainly, she's hitting as many loose balls as she is tight. So I think overall she's going to be quite disappointed in the way that she hasn't been able to settle or indeed dominate proceedings here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are some rallies in this game that Millie has dominated, and it's looked like Millie. Well, it's looked like Hannah hasn't had an answer for the style that Millie is playing. But then you get other rallies where the ball is just a little too high, but that's a lovely shot. That's exactly what Millie needed to play. Game ball down as well. And this is the lunging, the movement ability of Hannah. She didn't get this one back, but what a lunge. Oh, it's a good job she was wearing a skirt, because I think shorts would have just snapped. So this is where tensions may find them. We might find tensions getting high as we go into the tie-break scenario. You can see Hannah's having a little bit of a discussion about that last decision with the referees. And the tempo's gone up in this one as well. Both players hitting harder, although that's a lovely get out of jail card for right as I say they're hitting harder. Millie throws up a lovely lob. But you can see Hannah trying to inject some pace into the rally. And a let ball being given. You think that was a let?
I think there's a little bit of frustration there in Hannah's game. She's obviously got a greater range of shot, probably a greater variety of shot. And I think on the occasions where Millie has gone into the rally and really started to dominate, you can see the frustration there on Hannah's face. And she'll probably obviously take that out, not only on herself but on the referees as well.
Yeah, and another let ball in these testy times being given in the same kind of area of court as well. This lovely shot, and forces he out. Aside from that lovely shot though, I was thinking Hannah's struggling to find any dominance on the tee during this tie-break. It's been Millie controlling the rallies and Hannah somewhat just about staying in them. So Hannah's got to sort out finding her length, and
outwardly, I think she's shown quite a little bit of frustration. But this rally is a lot better. You can see great range, great accuracy, whether at the front or hitting to the back of the court.
Yeah, you can see how tight the ball's been going from both of these players up and down that backhand channel. This is a good rally. Longest rally of the match, I think. Ooh, but a lovely drop shot to finish off. Love a tie break. And again, as both these players find a bit of nerves in the end of this game, the pace has gone up. And that is a great winner and a very loud celebration from Hannah. You can tell she really wanted that one.
That's exactly what Millie's got to avoid doing. She's not, she's got to do everything in her power to keep the ball away from the middle of the court.
And although that's probably not the type of shot you'd attribute to Millie's game, that was a great time to use it. She hasn't played it all match so far and gets the winner in such an important time of the match. And that boast again that's been both plaguing and being the saviour of Millie's game, this time coming through and brings herself to 1 game all. So, in Hannah's corner, what would you be saying?
That rally, or that match, and the match generally, it's a little bit scrappy. Hannah has been the one who's benefited from that in the first game, but really sort of she appeared to just get sucked into, a few unforced errors herself, an untidy game from both players. I'm not sure how much confidence Millie's actually going to take from that game, because it was a hard game to win. It was an unconvincing game. So yes, the match is 1 game all. Hannah's going to be frustrated with that. Millie's probably going to be relieved that she's levelled the match.
She's not 2 love downs, which
Exactly.
makes a massive deal in a match like this, when Hannah, of course, being such a confident player, being so aggressive, confidence is such an important factor in that. You kind of want to be, when you've gone into a tiebreak in the second game and you've been one love up, you kind of want to take that second game just to keep that ball rolling. So the fact that Millie has managed to take that game might just put a dampener on Hannah's play. So I'm sure Rich will be encouraging her to stay aggressive, but the challenge is to avoid being trapped behind Millie and to accept that Millie's going to play some good shots, but to try and put Millie in the back of the court so that she can play the aggressive shot, squash to the front of the court that has done her so well so far in this match.
Where Millie I think has done the best is when she's kept the squash very, very simple. She's kept the ball straight. She's used the height of the front wall and then attacked the front of the court with a very simple, straightforward drop shot. And I think if Millie's really sort of going to get anything out of this match, those are the sort of tactics she needs to take into the remaining games. Look to get her opponent behind her and then take her to the front of the court in a very, very simple way. It's also important to counter that with, she's got to ensure she doesn't become predictable, because Hannah's got a lot of flair. She can feed off an opponent's predictability, so it's quite a difficult balance for Millie here. She needs to keep it simple, but at the same time, she needs to vary a little bit.
She can't just win she can't just win this match on basic length alone, put simply, and so she's got to find that the way that she can play some good finishing shots, but doing so by moving her opponent out of position, perhaps more so than playing the inch perfect drop shot, for example. I think an interesting dynamic of the last stage of that match, Hannah seemed to be really wanting to up the pace of that second game, but Millie's ability to use height and neutralise that was causing Hannah a lot of trouble, and allowing Millie to have time on the tee and dominate the rallies, which is why Hannah was finding herself in a couple of potential potential stroke situations, but ended up being let situations towards the end of that match. And this is exactly what Millie's doing now. She's using some great height and, as you said, simple squash. Forcing a a backwall boast from Hannah and just putting it away in the front of the court. Nothing flash, nothing shiny about it, but it's one at the point at the start of this game. And that's another perfect length, as you said. Basic squash has done really well for her actually in the start of this, playing some outright winners, even in the length. There's no getting that back. That's a very tight ball. So Hannah's got to find some courage here, because Millie's dominance in these opening rallies has given her a 3-point advantage. Make that 4, because that was I wasn't sure if that hit the tin actually. It was so low. It was a great shot from Millie. And of course these players are playing on a 17-inch tin as opposed to the usual 19-inch that you'll get on your standard club court. So those balls, when they go in short, they are very hard to retrieve. So the movement of these players has to be spectacular, kind of like that. But not able to get back to the tee on that occasion for Hannah.
You would have thought that the lower tin would actually play into Hannah's strengths, but certainly in terms of this game, it's a very strange, disjointed start to the game. She's taken her first point, but she's 5-1 down. Her body language doesn't seem to be that positive. She seems to be outwardly a little bit frustrated, certainly with those opening exchanges.
I agree. I think when Hannah plays well, she plays with emotion, and you saw that earlier on when she was cheering at the at one of the points she owed, one of the points she's earned in one of the previous games. But you're right. Yeah, this match she seems a bit. She doesn't seem negative in. Well, okay, she does look very negative in that right there. But generally speaking, she doesn't look slumped over or anything like that. Like she's not up for this, but she doesn't look like she did in the opening game, where she was firing shots in for fun, basically.
And that's probably a product of the quality of Millie. Certainly in this game, she started to show, her qualities. She started to show.
Right, as you said, that is commentator's curse in a nutshell. Swing and a miss for Millie Tomlinson. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I think she showed here just why she's 23 in the world. She's looking to be a lot more positive, and she's played that shot twice now, that cross-court volley nick, and it's got her 2 points, and it's good to see, because it obviously shows that she's becoming more confident, and it shows that she's very positive.
And that's a very nice shot, but great get from Millie. The way that Millie has built and built and built as the match has gone on, she wasn't playing her best in the first match, and Hannah dutifully took advantage of that fact. But in the second one, she improved slightly more, and in this third one, she's moving Hannah around so much. She's not just winning points on Hannah's errors, which you might expect from a shot type of player who's as aggressive as Hannah, who might be losing some of her stamina. Although that's a lovely shot from Hannah, well straightened. It's the way Millie's been winning these rallies has been from just some very good, very clean squash, playing some very tight balls and playing them very short, not necessarily with 100% power. In fact, she's playing some very nice, very soft, very far up drop shots, and the frustration, the mental aspect is potentially getting to Hannah now, losing on an ace, which is not what you see very often in squash. And now Millie's got 7 game balls in this to take it into a fourth, so with a 2-1 advantage, and there she does it. So I think unless Hannah is able to do something very, very drastic in this next game, she's going to struggle to bring the game into a fifth, the match into a fifth rather. at this rate, because Millie's quality has improved massively in since the first two games, and it's shown in the scoreline. Taking that 11-3 was very convincing.
Yes, that was a game to forget for Hannah. It's now up to her to regroup, listen to the advice in the corner, look to be positive. It's a one-way street, really. The only way that she can get anything out of this game is to get back into the form of the first game, be positive, take the initiative. So in some respects it makes it quite easy in terms of what that strategy. The difficulty is going to be the execution.
Yeah, and Millie has been fighting against the aggressive aspect of Hannah's game this whole time by trying to neutralise it with a lot of height every time Hannah has tried to up the pace. And you've also had the aspect that basically Millie is, because she's neutralised and played with a lot of height, that Hannah hasn't been able to basically use that aggressive flair that she has. She hasn't been able to put her strengths into action, and Millie's dominated on her strengths, which is basic English style length-based squash, force a loose one, take it in short. And Hannah's movement, as fast as she is, hasn't been able to keep up with it.
I think as well Hannah will be looking to really put in a good performance, because obviously there's a lot of competition for these places in the University of Nottingham team. They are the defending champions. They'll be looking to get deep into this year's league format. They'll be looking to qualify, and they'll be looking to qualify strongly, and with that comes competition for places. So not only is it points today, but it's also putting a marker down to the selection and team managers to say, look, I need to be your number one choice for the women's match.
No, exactly. I agreed as well. That's possibly a piece of pressure that we hadn't considered when it came to thinking about Hannah as as you said at the beginning of the match. Hannah was coming into this with no pressure, but potentially there was a bit more to read into than we thought than just looking at rankings. So all the politics of the PSL potentially coming into play, but must be said, Millie's gameplay in that last game was fantastic. So as she opens up this one, I'm sure her coach will have just told her more of the same: contain and play good basic squash, because that's what Millie's game is very good at. That was a very nice aggressive piece of play on the volley, well taken, and Hannah just a little bit lagging behind in that back corner.
Yes, a wonderful volley to the back of the court, followed by a wonderful attacking volley to the front of the court. So great combination.
And she did it at the right time as well. It wasn't just and there's the flamboyance, but it hasn't come off today. Come off on that shot. Just a bit, potentially a little bit tired, but also a little bit of frustration maybe coming out, because she didn't need to play that shot. Is the thing. And as you say, that previous point though, yeah, Millie just knowing when to play those kind of shots, which, let's be honest, the one that Hannah just played into the tin wasn't really on, but she played it nonetheless, whereas Millie is only taking the chances when she knows that Hannah's out of position, or she's taking Hannah by surprise. And that is a lovely shot, especially so tight off the side wall. It's a great shot.
Again, there are visible signs of frustration, and that's not good. Hannah needs to be a lot more positive. Even if she's not inwardly feeling that confident, she needs to portray a stronger body language.
Yeah, it's true. Millie's taking advantage. I mean, if you're Millie, you know that you've seen that when Hannah's playing well, she shows it on, heart on sleeve kind of thing. So if you've got Hannah looking a little bit downhearted about how the match is going so far, that's just making you play with a lot more confidence. And well, Millie's opening up a lead, which is exactly what Hannah didn't want to allow to happen at the beginning of this. And now the errors are coming as well. So Hannah's got to regroup in this one if she wants to bring the match any further. She's got to dig fairly deep on this one. That's a great length, forcing a loose ball, but now she's on the receiving end of that rally, and a potentially lucky nick from Millie, although she'll probably say that she meant it. But now we're in the same case as the last game. Hannah is 2-7 down, so... And there comes another unforced error.
Certainly a good start for Birmingham, and let's not forget, overall this is on paper a very, very tight match. There's some great matches, some great matches in prospect, and I think it's important not just for Millie but also for the team that they get off to a very, very good start.
Yeah, in theory, Dec James should on paper beat Peter Greed, and Nick Matthews should on paper beat Joel Macon, but injuries may influence that one as well. But if Hannah doesn't win this one, then, which she's looking very unlikely to at 7 game balls down, it's going to be a very difficult climb for University of Nottingham, and Nottingham are going to have to rely on some of the results off that we won't be broadcasting tonight on the back courts. And it's quite a thing though. University of Nottingham had a quite impressive run as of late. University of Nottingham are undefeated in 10 games in a row, including if you go back to last season. So that'll obviously be something that they don't want to lose their streak on. Millie with good sportsmanship, playing through a ball that could possibly have been deemed a stroke, and losing the rally at the end anyway. So what do you think? Come back on now at 5-10?
I think it's too little, too late.
Probably true, but we can believe, we can dream.
This late surge from Hannah's probably going to even add to any frustration if she doesn't take it to the 5th game.
Although if she does take it, you'd have to say the momentum shift would be huge. Millie came into, if it goes that far, which is still somewhat of a lots of caveats attached to that one. The momentum shift would be huge with Millie losing from 8 game balls up. But there's some really good play from Hannah. She's dominating the tee, she's playing aggressively, she's being allowed to play the shots she wants to and set the pace. And given a let ball, a bit of a saving grace there, because I don't think I would have given a let. So there's a little bit of a tactical, well not tactical shift, but a mental lapse from Millie. Hasn't quite... And there's a stroke. No video review in PSL, so Hannah has to take that. Good surge towards the end of that. She was playing some good squash, but Millie wins out in the end with some very...
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would start to take your seats, we're going to get things underway very shortly.
Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the PSL. Tonight, the University of Nottingham take on University of Birmingham Lions in an all-out clash between great players tonight. Our first matchup in the women's is going to be ranked 58 in the world, Hannah Ramadan, against Millie Tomlinson, ranked 22. Dec James is going to take on Peter Creed, and Nick Matthew is going to take on Joel Makin, all streamed live on onsquashable.tv. We're also live on Unilad, on England Squash on YouTube, and we'll hand you over now to our MC.
You're welcome, Nick. Thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to squash fans and the wider viewing public to the University of Nottingham and this brilliant squash facility here at the David Ross Sports Village. We're all looking forward to tonight's Premier Squash League tie. The current PSL champions, University of Nottingham versus University of Birmingham. Whilst I have your attention for a moment, we'd like to give a huge thank you to all of our sponsors, in particular Toyota Material Handling, which is a bit of a mouthful, and Mr. Nick Duckworth for agreeing to be our main sponsor this season. Thank you. We also need to mention the Navigation Brewery, purveyors of fine ale, Sodexo for the match night catering, not forgetting My Protein, and finally for the continued support of the University of Nottingham and this wonderful venue, and all the effort and support of the Nottingham Squash Rackets Club, in particular Nick and Jerry. Without your help and the support of all the sponsors, these evenings could not take place. So a huge thank you to all of our sponsors. Just a reminder for all you in the crowd to behave yourself. We're being webcast live across the world, live on Unsquashable TV, accessible through the PSL website, as well as England Squash, Unilad. I think you also might make an appearance on NOS TV at some stage. So on best behaviour. Right, on to the main proceeding.
Welcome to the
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would start to take your seats, we're going to get things underway very shortly.
Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the PSL. Tonight, the University of Nottingham take on University of Birmingham Lions in an all-out clash between great players tonight. Our first matchup in the women's is going to be ranked 58 in the world, Hannah Ramadan, against Millie Tomlinson, ranked 22. Dec James is going to take on Peter Creed, and Nick Matthew is going to take on Joel Makin, all streamed live on onsquashable.tv. We're also live on Unilad, on England Squash on YouTube, and we'll hand you over now to our MC.
You're welcome, Nick. Thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to squash fans and the wider viewing public to the University of Nottingham and this brilliant squash facility here at the David Ross Sports Village. We're all looking forward to tonight's Premier Squash League tie. The current PSL champions, University of Nottingham versus University of Birmingham. Whilst I have your attention for a moment, we'd like to give a huge thank you to all of...
So quite an interesting one for these two. They're both coming into it from some good form in the last, very recent times.
Yeah, good recent form. Obviously, Declan just come back from a long trip to Hong Kong, where he made it through to the quarter-final stage, which was probably a bit of a career high, I think, so far for him.
Yeah, slightly lucky in terms of an injury from his opponent in the second round.
You take what's given to you.
You do. And Peter Creed, of course, he's just won, not on Squash TV, of course, but he'd won the Saskatoon International 2017 only a few days ago, so potentially coming back maybe a little bit jet lagged.
Yeah, it's only 2 days ago the final, wasn't it? So it's how he's recovered from that.
Yeah.
And
So
also the tournament as a whole.
yeah.
I think he had to play 4 or 5 matches to win that. So it's how the two guys recover. But I suppose they're both in the same boat there, really.
Yeah, potentially you've got Peter Creed having a little bit more of a ego boost from having the victory of the whole title, which is obviously a big deal for a player like Peter Creed, who gets very emotional on court.
Right.
And Dec, of course, coming back from his best career high finishing in a World Series event, is going to be something that is going to influence his game as well. Of course, Dec is the higher ranked player at 35 in the world, and Peter Creed at 63. So
we're hoping for a home win. Is that what we're saying?
well, I think so. I have to say that, don't I?
Yeah. I mean, and Declan also, I mean, even his quarter-final tie against Ali Farag, who's like 4 in the world at the minute, he took a game, so even that should be a boost.
Yeah, and
you're making inroads into these top players, but even by taking a game off them.
yeah, I mean the only tournament or major tournament this year that hasn't been won by Mohamed El Shabaghi was won by Ali Farag, and it was against Mohamed El Shabaghi. So being able to take a game and compete with someone of the quality of Ali Farag is something that Dec's got to take a lot of pride in, and whilst he'd have a lot to build on based on the fact that he didn't win it, there's a lot of positives coming out of that tournament, so he will be feeling good tonight, and now coming back to Glass Court
That's it,
to
home.
play on once again.
Back in front of his home crowd, let's say probably feeling on a high, and hopefully can take that momentum into this match tonight.
Yes, and of course it's slightly different being for most of the players tonight, because Dec James is a proper local boy, where
right,
most
yeah.
of the other players playing for Nottingham, in fact all of them I believe, are not Nottingham native. So he really is playing in front of his own home crowd, playing in front of a crowd who he's been growing up with, watching him throughout his junior career and his professional career. So
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the crowd this evening while I was watching the first game. There's lots of players from his local club here who have support him. Do go on court with him as well. He does go on court with a few of the local top players in the club and practice with them. And I think that sort of, on a night like tonight, that's where it bears fruit, because everyone wants to come and watch him.
yeah, exactly. So he'll be pulling a lot of courage and a lot of strength from the crowd tonight as they cheer for him when he's down and when he's up as well. But we've just seen some of the results of the of the concurrent games matches this evening.
Well,
So
Nottingham going to this, the 2-0 down. Obviously,
yes,
so it's a must-win.
it is at
must-win
this
rubber,
point.
this one.
So the three remaining matches are, we have Richie Fallows playing on the back court, Deck James on this court, and Nick Matthew later on this court. So Deck is seeded to win this one, in theory, as is Nick. It's a big task for Richie on the back court though, because that one I believe is a very closely ranked affair.
Yeah, Richie's currently 62 and Jamie's 74, so not much in
it indeed.
that one. I think Richie recently had a good result. He got to the final of the Venice Vert Open. Not sure where that one is.
I mean, I won't trust your pronunciation,
Yes.
but I'll take the spelling.
He also got to the semi-final in the Kent Open most recently as well. So
So he's got a
little bit of form.
lot to draw on, a bit of form at the moment. So hopefully he can pull that through. But Nottingham being 2-0 down, granted we did it last time from 2-0 down. We pulled back for the victory in the second round of of the first home match of the season. Nottingham were able to pull back from 2-0 down. So hopefully they can do it again.
I was at that match that night. I thought we were a little bit fortunate because Declan's opponent that evening, the young Egyptian,
Yusuf Solomon.
he was playing really well and
Nasty little
was
injury.
He was in front and got a bad injury with his knee. Declan seems to maybe put that on his opponents at the minute, because obviously in Hong Kong his opponent
Got a lucky, lucky
also,
draw against the Suzuki.
Yeah, I hear that's quite a bad one. I think he's out till next year.
It was on the. That's very unfortunate. I had no idea.
Yeah, I read that today, that Dasuki's looking to be out until the new year. So I don't know how long that is. Whether that's season ending, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Deco's
speedy recovery to him.
I think Deco's him an apology for playing such a good shot.
Yeah. Try and get it back next time.
Yeah. So what do you think Peter Creed's got to do to take this one, being the underdog?
It's a matter of trying to, I think, work his opponent, work Declan around the court as much as you can.
Yeah. It's
like
so interesting watching these two stood next to each other.
That's right, yeah.
It's
a bit like me and you,
are so different. But how tall is Declan? Because he's what, 6'3",
6'4".
Yeah, he's a tall dude. And Peter Creed's got to be one of the smaller guys on the team.
5, something like that. Do you think?
Yeah, 4.5.
4.5. That's smaller than me then if he's 4.5.
Although he's got a bit of a temper on him, does Peter Creed, so I don't know if I feel too good about insulting the man.
No. Let's hope he don't replay it then.
Hopefully. He doesn't know who I am anyway, I'm going to run away.
He ain't got a clue.
Well, it's a good opening from Peter Creed, 3-1 lead.
Yeah, he's looking pretty solid.
Especially with shots like that, it's very aggressive. So James has got a...
You give a no, was that a no-let decision?
It was a no there, I know. I didn't necessarily agree with it.
It sort of looked like it came out and looked to me.
But that's a nice little bit of flair from Deck.
And that's what he's got that in his locker, Declan. He's got a lot of flair. Play his shots. If Peter lets him play, then he's going to be in trouble. He's got to try and contain Declan, I think, as much as he can.
Yeah,
Stop him.
but at the moment in this rally, it's Peter Creed at the back of the court
That's right.
majority of the time.
Dominating.
So the obvious difference between these two, just looking at them, is of course the stature, and it does mean that when these two players are going to be moving around the court, Peter Creed is going to be doing more movement in order to get to a ball, even if it was even if the ball is of the same quality, just because he's got to.
I know how he feels. It's not fair. But
So
it's definitely done it. Obviously, it's a totally different way, isn't it? Like the movement.
yeah, the movement
mechanics
patterns of
of it.
these two are
Totally different.
exactly. Creed is rapid, whereas Declan is generally speaking quite a
Yeah,
fluid
almost-
type
yeah.
of mover.
There, on the attack in this rally,
Oof.
but makes a mistake.
Yeah, finding the tin on that
Forced
effort.
error.
Potentially just not quite finding this range in the early phases of this match so far, but you know, he took so he had an opportunity and he tried to take it, but
Yeah, missed out on that occasion. And just building down the backhand side here. He's been nice and steady, really.
it's lovely to see at this
Tight.
level, isn't it? The accuracy that they get
Oh, they just
and the power that they
yeah, it's just so
are able to
consistent, isn't
generate.
it?
Yeah.
Just so consistent.
A bit of a guess there from Creed, but couldn't pull it off quite. So Dex pulled it back now, level at 5-all in the first. I should ask, what do you reckon the scoreline will be in this one?
I'm going to go for a home win, and I'm going to go
You're good in my
3
book
love.
then. 3-love.
hmm
Convincing then.
Maybe not sort of as in convincing as 3 love would sound, but I think he'll take it 3 love. The games could be close, especially early on.
Yeah.
But Deck, I think already in this game we saw Peter come out, but I think Deck's starting to dictate a little bit.
He is.
He's,
yeah,
he's
I
in
agree.
front of
It's,
his opponent a lot.
you know,
lot
one
more
of
there.
Creed's weapons in his arsenal is his movement, but the thing is, Deck is making him use it at the moment, and not in the sense that his movement allows him to be aggressive. He's at the moment, apart from somewhat of an error there from Deck hitting the ball back onto himself,
Got away
he's
with it there.
forcing
Shouldn't have let.
he's forcing Creed to do horrible
He is.
retrieving movements like that. Which
Yeah,
is
Creed's having to do a lot of rapid movement,
yeah.
but it's always under pressure.
What's nice for Declan is that he's getting Creed to do those movements, not into the front but into the back of the court,
Yeah,
which is normally kind of a safe haven for a squash player. You kind of are, if you're able to compete at the back of the court, then you might just have a match on your hands. But if you can't, you know, get a good length and you're being dominated by the quality of width of your opponent, then you're going to really struggle. And at the moment, Creed is being forced into the back, and
Deck's just picking him off. He's volleying when he wants to volley.
yeah, it's not quite tight enough for Creed,
Yeah.
and it's not quite. He's not forcing Deck into the back of the court,
No, Deck's just pushing him back, and then
taking it in when he's
Taking
got a
in.
really easy one. Which eventually, because of the quality of length and the speed at which Deck is
Keeps
playing,
happening, yeah.
he's getting those opportunities.
yeah, I think that's now what, from 5-2 down to 8-5 up. So
With a
he should-
5-2 down.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
So quite dominant
he's
now.
been a little bit fortunate maybe with.
that could have been lethal there. Declan just raises his foot slightly and
I think these two have
Nearly
played
took
before,
Peter off
but
his head.
I mean, Deck's waist is roughly at shoulder height for Creed.
that's right. Look, A little bit closer, that could have been in the jaw, I think.
Next to each other makes Deck look like an absolute giant. I mean, I know he's over 6 foot, but that's looks huge.
Nothing wrong with a small package, mate. He's getting round there. Good things come in small packages, apparently.
Sorry, my co-commentator broke me then for a moment. I think we'll get in trouble if we go
That's
down that
tight there.
road, but this
Yeah.
is some very nice length play from Deck, forcing another loose ball, taking it in, but
Straight there.
and that's classic example again. So as you said, James managed to get how many points in a row? 5 or 6 in a row.
They won
from
6 in a row.
just by playing that solid length game, take it in short, very basic squash ideas. That's a lovely shot, but
There's
that's
another stroke.
got to be a
Too-
stroke.
Yeah, drop was too tight. He couldn't get it. Didn't get in a fight on it. On the straight lob, just
Yeah.
stroke again.
So Deck just straight up outplaying his opponent at the moment. It's,
He looks very comfortable as well.
he does, yeah. This could be.
He don't look like he's
No,
under
there's
pressure.
not.
He's
Yeah,
getting around the court.
there haven't
really
been
nicely.
rallies where it's looked like.
He sort of
I don't
gave
know
up
why.
on that one there.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one. I think he definitely anticipated the cross court there, but I think he's blaming the lights for that one.
Yeah.
It's difficult on these last courts because the lighting is so much more intense. Because you're trying to create like a one-way mirror.
That's good.
Sorry, a
Don't know what-
two-way.
Don't know what Peter's asking for here. The pickups look good to me.
Yeah, I thought everything looked fine. Thought the rally looked alright.
I'm not sure what's. I think Peter thinks one of those was down, but
So we are receiving confirmation that Nottingham are 2-love down because Lewis Walters did lose to Jan van. I don't even dare to say a second name. Jan van Herdewegen. I officially apologise to every Birmingham fan out there, but for mispronouncing that one. But
to any Belgians that are listening. So did they call that down there? That last one?
I have no idea. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was just receiving
There's a
information from our
stroke.
director.
Yeah.
But
He sees it out for a stroke. I
yeah.
think the scorer's got that wrong there. It's his game too.
So the scoreline,
Declan James.
close, potentially from a few unforced errors from Deck.
Yeah,
More so than the quality of Creed in that one.
yeah, that game seemed to go in stages. Creed came out, looked pretty good, went sort of 5-2 up. Then Dex took a stranglehold, went 8-5 up.
I think Deck tried to come into the game all guns blazing, and it didn't quite start working out, which is why Peter Creed managed to take the lead in the early phases of that game. But as the game went on, Deck found his range, found his length, had Peter Creed scrambling into the back corners and the front at times, and was able to just.
Well, he was making him scramble in the back, and he just. I don't think he really got near the front of the court there. He was that having to be pushed that far back.
No, exactly.
He-
The only
And
points
the
that
openings
went.
were there. It was wide open for Declan, I think.
Yeah. So some great
finish
play
the
from
points.
Declan. Really, he's playing arguably above his ranking at the moment, taking on Peter Creed in the way he did in that game. Really outclassing him in almost every way. Just a few unforced errors. It wasn't that the unforced errors were coming in thick and fast, but they were just coming in when they weren't necessary. He didn't need to go for a cross-court volley nick, for example, on one of the shots in the early phase of the game, and as the game went on, he just sort of found his range and gave himself a great advantage.
He's come back on court pretty quick, so he looks in determined mood too.
That's the other thing. If you had a pedometer on these two, I guarantee Peter Creed will have done twice the steps, twice the movement, expended twice the energy as Deck did in that game.
You know, most definitely. I think even in sort of the middle third of that game, he probably did 3 times as much.
Yeah.
Declan just didn't seem to be
Moving off the tee at all,
Didn't
no.
have to. He was just punching him along, and then
So I
chopping him in short.
So I think if you were talking to Deck in that break, you'd have probably just been saying more of the same, but don't get complacent.
Yeah, but he did seem to switch off at the end, and allowed Peter to sort of close the gap a little bit.
Yeah.
Luckily, he had enough points on the board to see it through, but yeah, he's just got to keep his focus, I think.
Yeah, and I think the way that Deck is playing these rallies so far, the harder he makes
Mistake
it
there
for
from
Creed, the more errors that Creed is going to make.
Yeah.
And it might be the case that he could win. I wouldn't advise it, but he might well be able to win a game like this almost solely based on his length, which is what he was managing to do very effectively in that last game. So
Good retrieve.
yeah,
Takes
a
it
bit of
on
a
top on
chance
this
now
rally.
it's good. He's come out the gates very well, his Creed.
Some good volleying there.
Almost thought Deck was
Nice,
going to
nice.
jump over Peter
Yeah.
to try and get to the back of the
Yeah.
corner for that one.
Bit of leapfrog going on.
Frog, yeah.
That wasn't the easiest shot for Peter to control there as he was on the turn.
No, it was a good effort. And
some
that's
good
going to
point
be a
there.
stroke, probably. There it is.
Deck's just got to
He's got to refocus, doesn't he?
again.
Yeah. He had a
Good
great
rallies there.
first game and didn't finish it weak, but he didn't go straight through to win that one. Peter Creed
synced
was
that.
able to get a little bit of momentum going into the very end of that last game. So Deck's just got to reassert himself, find his length again, and dominate. But he can't play loose. He can't play loose shots like that because
To be
I
fair
think
to
the ref was
Peter,
very
he's-
nice in that scenario.
Yeah, to be fair to Peter, he's come out and he's actually dominating the tee in this start of this game. He's volleying more.
He is.
He looks sharper again.
And I wonder if is it the pressure of Creed? Is he upping the pace in some way? This is meaning that the balls that Deck is playing are just coming off that little bit looser.
Yeah.
So Deck's just got to remind himself that he's the better player and try and
Cross courts there from Peter. That's tight. Ooh, yeah, missed a long drop.
yeah. And now the pressure that Creed has
Further
been
mistake.
pulling out in the beginning of this has now made Deck kind of rethink his game plan now, because I guarantee you, if that rally had happened at the end of the first game, Deck would not have tried to go for that long drop.
No, he wasn't going for his shots from sort of positions like that. To
Now-
be fair, he wasn't really in the back corners.
No. Now
in
that
that first game, but he does seem to be a lot deeper in this game.
yeah,
It's
Creed's
almost
doing a
like
great job of bullying him into the back
It's,
of the
it's
court.
almost like the game switched from
Yeah.
one player to the other.
Yeah, it's like have they swapped teams? Yeah, absolutely. It's Creed is doing a great job of bullying Deck now into the back of the court, or at least in this rally now finding a bit of equality. But Deck feels like he's got to do something now.
Yeah.
He played that 3-wall boast there just a second ago, which I just think if he's able to find his range again and his length,
He won't be needing that shot.
potentially
Gonna
so.
work him
Yeah.
in.
That's some
This is
Some
a
rapid
this is
stuff.
a good rally here, but that's like a stroke.
yeah, fair enough. There's some rapid movement from Peter. So this,
Yeah, he
that's the
just-
kind of thing that
Yeah, he was
Deck's
just
gotta do.
making. Yeah, he was just making. Just at the end there, just making Peter move even quicker than he wants
Yeah.
to. I think,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's what he was doing
Make him
in
use
that, in that first game.
Make him fill those muscles with lactic acid,
Yeah.
and that's what he kind of needs to do. Because as much
Mistake
as it
comes
is
in.
a strength of Peter, his stamina is limited supply. He's only human, so
You can
the
only do
longer
it
you
for so long, can't you?
yeah, the longer you keep the rallies and the higher tempo you play, and the more you keep him moving into the corners or deep into the corners, because he is a small guy, he's going to burn out quicker than most. Well, not quicker than me, granted, 'cause I think he's a bit fitter than I am, but That's the general idea. But Peter Creed has done definitely a great job of managing to compete, especially into the back corners now, where in the first game
He's
he
just
really
made
did.
he's just made 2 sort of errors on the backhand drop, and then suddenly from being 3-1 up, he's 4-3 down now. So again, it just shows you how quickly the game can change.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a case that.
Oh,
No,
nice Great finish there
that's
from
a shot that we
James.
saw in the first game that
Yeah.
didn't come off. So Deck definitely finding his feet on this one in this second. But Creed also playing
he
with a
went for
bit
that
more
one.
form as well. At least at the start of this
Great
game.
finish that.
Yes, lovely shot.
So he's gone for another one there.
Gone for it
Cross-court
again,
kill.
but I don't think so. I don't think he's going to get that.
No, Pete's not getting anything from that. That was good.
No.
I don't know if he thinks that was down on the front wall, but it definitely good.
I think he just loves an argument.
Maybe he needs a breather.
Yeah.
Trying to change that
is
momentum.
superb
You see
play.
now, look, from what was he, 3-1 up? He's
Yeah.
now 7-3 down. You see it.
Yeah, the speed
So
that
it's pretty.
Deck is wrapping up points now.
Yeah, it's a similar pattern to the first game.
And
Peter
Peter's got to be
starts
really
well,
careful now, because the Deck's playing with confidence, and that is something that at the moment is telling in the scoreboard, because it's benefiting him massively. So Peter's got to really try and contain Deck and make him. Deck can play those shots all he likes, but Creed's got to make sure that he's making Deck play them from really hard positions.
Yeah, trying to force him to try and go for them from a difficult position and make mistakes.
Exactly.
That's tight.
That's good work.
And that's an example there.
Take away
Deck
the
went
angle.
Deck went in for it. But Peter got that one clean on the sidewall
And
and forced the
bang.
error. Look.
yeah. Yeah. I like the confusion on James' face on that that replay.
Why have I not got that? Maybe it was, why did I try and play that?
Yeah.
That's often the thought that goes through your mind. A shot like that.
Yeah, I
Why
often
have I
find though,
just-
when
why
you
have
go
I
into
just
the
tried
volley,
to
you've
volley that?
overcommitted when it's
you
so
got
tight,
in
haven't you?
for it, and you just think to yourself, why?
Oh, it's great retrieving.
It's
And
just tight as
tight.
well. He had a piggyback there. Leapfrogging, now he's piggyback riding.
Going back to school for these guys. Playground antics.
So Peter just pulled a couple back now.
Yeah, yeah.
Just stop the momentum a little bit.
He's done exactly
which
what he needed. He
to.
played some good squash, tight shots twice, which gave him. Ooh,
Oh,
good effort.
where he went there.
Yeah.
I think he totally misread that return of serve. And
Scrambling
then
to get it back.
yeah, and then
Yeah, but aside from that point, he played a couple of good quality rallies that had the ball tight and forced unforced errors from. Well, that's some phrasing, isn't it?
Oh.
Forced and unforced error.
yeah.
But he's just.
Coming for a chat, I think.
Oh, as you do. But no, Creed, he had a couple of good rallies there. Deck's firing back now with because he's being allowed to play some good shots. But Creed has got to be. Creed is the player in this scenario who has to contain
He
his
just
opponent.
he just can't do it enough, can he? Consistently enough. Can't contain Declan. You know, he can do a couple of points, but then it just goes a little bit looser again. He's
Yeah.
having to work that little bit harder,
Yeah.
and Declan takes advantage. And I think now he's having a breather, a little chat with the referee
Nice tactic.
to see if he can again change the momentum back towards himself.
Yeah. Well, bit dodgy, but a good tactic because
Sometimes it works.
2 points in a row. Yeah, 2 points in a row for Deck. You don't want to take the risk. You don't want to take the risk that he's building and building and building that momentum in his own way. Like, you just pause that thought process, but that's a weak shot.
Poor shot there from Peter.
10-9 game ball. 10-5, sorry.
Very loose. Looked on top of the ball.
And
Position wise.
the game finishes in this way, I mean, you'd have to say Deck has just been the better player in this match so far.
Yeah, he's dominating. There you go. That'll be enough.
Yeah, Creed's had his moments, but he's been relying on his movement for the majority of this match so far. And Deck's quality of shot has shone through because Creed hasn't been able to keep the ball tight enough or out of his reach enough.
He's just not consistently keeping it tight, and that's the only way when he's had any success is when he's got the ball clean on the wall, especially off the straight shots. Whether he's just got to, if I was his coach, I don't know. Would you just say let's just try and play a straight game and contain him and keep that ball clean to the sidewall and stop
Creed has
Declan
to
coming in? But I don't think that would be enough, because then Declan would be, because he loves coming in, cutting those volleys. He's got to be able to do something different as well.
Yeah, I think Creed has to recognise that Deck has a lot of range in, actual physical width on his ability to reach a shot. So when he comes in for a volley, he's only taking a half step, and he's reaching the ball. At the moment, Creed's not playing tight enough, and he's not playing with enough. He's not playing with enough lift at the moment either. There's not a lot of variation going on in Creed's game, so it's quite hard hitting.
It just seems to be at a mid-height for Declan to just play volleys from.
Yeah, the ones that are going to the back are the ones that are low and extremely hard, but there's not that other end of the spectrum where.
Yeah, he's not playing any lobs, is he?
No. And of course, it's a dangerous thing to do against a player who's taller than you. But when you're in trouble in any of the corners of the court, which at the moment he is constantly finding himself in, he's got to play those slower shots so that he gives himself time to get back to the tee. He can't just hit himself out of trouble against someone who's a higher ranked player than him, because it won't work.
And definitely, he watched the top players watching Nick in the last game at home against Marwan Al Shubayi. The lobs that Nick was putting in against him,
absolutely, both
when he was
of them
under pressure, they were amazing.
Yeah, both of them were.
It just shows you how, from being under pressure, you can just turn the rally on its head
completely. I think both players. It was strange to see almost, compared to the level that I play at. The amount of lobs that these guys were playing from the front of the court. If it wasn't a drop shot or a counter drop shot at the front of the court, it was predominantly a lob to get themselves out of trouble. And I think Creed has to really.
We're not seeing that from Peter at all.
No, when he is going into the front, he's hard hitting out of it. Thank God he did it then, otherwise we'd have looked very silly.
Or his coach was just listening to us and told him, let's put some more lobs in here, Peter, come on. Try and change the pace.
But when he's at the back of the court as well, he's got to use a little bit more height, and I don't think he can do shots like that, shots like a boast from the back of the court. Maybe when he's on the tee he can play a boast, because it's quite deceptive in that scenario. But Deck's got the movement to.
He's got the reach to pick off any of those two wall boasts. He's just one step and he's on it. Yeah,
unless they're pinpoint, like not even an inch above the tin and second bounces in the corner. James isn't going to struggle with retrieving a boast. So there's 2 attempts so far in this game, and it's resulted in.
Well, he did get he got a point off the first one because Declan made an unforced error into the tin, but
he did. But
that's a let off as opposed to his.
Yeah, his movement was there, so it looked like a shot that Deck could have got, just made a mistake, and
he's putting that boast in again.
It really was an unforced error. It wasn't anything to do with Creed on that one, but that's good. That's good. That's what you want to see.
That's different. Yeah, it's the first time he's done something different there, rather than just going in and smashing it long. Yeah,
it's good. It's because don't forget, Deck is a big frame, so when he's got the chance to counter drop, it's a subtle difference, but a boast does kick back into the court, so you don't have to travel as far forward to reach a boast. But a counter drop with decent quality is difficult for someone like Deck, who's very tall, to get down low and to retrieve that one. So he's got to play shorts. He's got to play his shots that are going to the front of the court short, of course, that was superb, to be fair.
Great finish there. Great technique as well. Cuts it in.
But that is just
Force.
unnecessary. It's not going to be. It's thrown in there with no purpose.
Yeah,
is it?
yeah. Declan's on that. If that's up, Declan's on it, and in, a dominant position from the front of the court. It's not helping Peter, that shot. It's tighter there, front tighter there.
I think he's got to mix his variation with not opening up the court too much, because Deck.
Yeah,
A boast
give him an
opens
angle,
up. A bad boast opens up the court massively, which
That's it.
Deck will take advantage of, because at the moment his quality has outshone Creed's movement.
And just a bit of a hack to the back.
But again, there's not a lot of variation.
No,
it was
it was just hack to the back, wasn't it?
and Deck's fine
But
doing
he's-
that.
But Peter showed just probably 2 or 3 points ago that he's got the ability to go in and cut it if he's got a bit of time. He can kill the ball.
Yeah,
But he
that
just seems-
shot was a little bit better because it was brought into the front. It was a volley from fairly far back, but it was quite short. It wasn't brought in with a lot of pace, and it was kind of not heavy. It wasn't like a sluggish movement, but it was heavy. Drop shot. The retrieval from Deck, and it forced Deck to use a bit of height on that one. There's a good bit of use of height,
Not enough.
but
though.
not enough, and it's given Deck advantages.
That's the
around,
thing.
so he's got to.
The quality of the lob has got against someone.
Yeah,
that's
that's
better.
good. That's it. That's what you want to see.
It's got to be really high. You've got to get it in the clouds
Yeah,
against Declan. Otherwise, that's
that's a nice
better.
shot. That's good.
More controlled though. He
Yeah.
didn't just go in and smash it as hard as he could.
For once, he
He
read.
held it a little bit
Yeah,
and saw Declan's movement.
that's the
pushed
difference
it
when he
down the
gets
wall.
time on the ball.
Yeah.
But most of the shots that Deck's been playing, he hasn't had that time on the ball. So when he's been allowed to not just hack it and hit it, it's gone well for him. Like that. Like that was a loose.
Yeah.
It was a tight
Loose
shot from
drop.
Creed, forced a loose counter drop from Deck, and Creed
hard
puts it
low
away
cross
with a
court.
very, very nice kill. And it's he's doing well.
doing all right in this
yeah,
one.
Yeah, 4-2 up is a good way to start this match.
But we've been here before in the other two previous games where Peter's been up in the first third of the game.
Yeah,
and
he
then-
does start well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he started every game well and took the lead. But I think these next 2 or 3
That was
points
good.
are
That was
crucial
lovely.
for Creed.
Yeah.
Can he sort of push on in the middle third of the game and still be in front rather than find himself
He's
behind?
got to carry on doing what he's been doing in the first stage of this game, which is using more height, taking the ball in at a good time, softly, and keeping James behind him,
Yeah,
which he's struggling at the
yeah.
moment to do
Doing the
consistently. At least he's having his moments, but he's not.
not sustaining it.
No, exactly. Lovely.
pressure, but
That's
here,
so
tight.
difficult. That's such hard movement, but
There's not much you can do to pick that off, is there?
no, so tight. Such a tight ball. So it's a good rally. A lot of up and down the side wall, and
It's a loose one.
yeah, not a good cross court from Creed, but
He's a bit behind Declan here, isn't he?
yeah,
Back of the
longest
court.
rally of the match so far.
Good
this
lob.
one.
That was a good lob.
Yeah,
Gave
it
him a
was.
bit of time.
Gave him a bit of time, and Deck couldn't really do anything with it
Couldn't
apart
attack
from
on
hit
it.
a length.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of
That's a shot that he needs.
exactly. He's got to wait for his moment to take it in
Yeah.
short and do so
There.
And that's nice. That's nice. Probably a let, and it was still tight, but it was. What was that decision? Have you heard?
I think he's giving a let.
To explain, we can't quite hear the referees from our commentary booth, so
4-6.
Can you see what I'm trying to say though? I've hit the top shot here. Why is there a let? Why is there interference?
I think it was a let, looking at that replay.
Because Peter Creed isn't very happy about it.
No,
it's the other tipping.
No.
Yeah, I think it was a tight ball, but there was no access, so I think it's fair enough that Deck be
It wasn't
not punished for that.
The drop wasn't that short, really. Either.
No, but that was the he played the right shot, just didn't quite have the quality to it.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
Lovely, but that's what happens when
he's having to retrieve here.
That's what happens when Peter uses uses power on his shots, and it's not pinned to the sidewall. Deck can predict it, play a very difficult short shot, and suddenly that whole rally, because
cross court there.
That was a great shot, great finisher to the rally. But that whole rally, Deck was in front because Peter played a hard drive to the back of the court at shoulder height.
Yeah.
And Deck just picked it off.
Yeah.
And from then on
and then
in,
tried to continue to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than
Creed was using his movement to try and return himself into the rally, but he was just sort of just getting it back rather than.
Guess that one right.
Rather than trying to.
Working hard here.
Yeah.
He's in it though. He's in this rally.
He is. He's fought back. He's
got himself back in it.
Yeah, he's done well.
That's a bit loose on that forehand.
Momentum in a rally shifts so quickly, doesn't it? In squash, one bad shot and your opponent can be all over it.
Deck's just put a couple of drops into the tin in these last few points.
Yeah, it's given. Peter Creed's taken.
And it's like what we said probably a few minutes ago. This is the first time Peter's actually kept the lead.
He has, yeah. He's playing with some good quality.
Yeah, he's come out every game and took the lead, but not been able to maintain it.
But now he's got Deck moving around, and that's the key to beating him.
Here.
Because Deck is a big guy, so if you get him breathing, then
Deck's just going for shots here.
Exactly, and that's weak. He doesn't need to do shots like that.
But is this Hong Kong fatigue coming in?
Potentially. Yeah, who knows?
Could be a bit of jet lag.
Could be. How long was Hong Kong ago now? It's only a few days, wasn't it?
That's it. It's not been that long ago, and it's quite a long flight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it 14 hours? Or 16
yeah, so
hours?
it would be quite late over there, wouldn't it?
So surely, if Peter can keep him on court.
But that's that's a horrible movement to have to make.
But without having to run as much. Oh, pulls it out.
Great effort. Yeah, so
I think he surprised himself there.
Surprised us for sure. Need to see this.
I'll see that one again.
Oh, I'm surprised racket didn't spin out of his hand.
Yeah, I think he's
look at that technique. That's sublime.
What have I just done?
He's won the game.
How would I do that again?
Yeah, it's a great little bit of improvisation from Creed.
Yeah, not sure
which
coaching manual that was out, but it certainly worked.
Yeah, so Deck looking like he gave up that game towards the end.
Yeah.
But lots of positives from Creed, and Deck I think just needs to reset himself. It's difficult to win against someone who is the quality of Peter Creed. You know, he's not in the scale of things. There are a lot of players at around their kind of level. So the difference in skill is not as vast as the rankings might presume.
Yeah.
So just looking at the concurrent matches that are on at the moment, Birmingham are of course 2-love up against Nottingham, but Pontefract and Warwick are currently tied at 1-1. St George's Hill and Bexley are 1-1 as well, and the RAC have already won against Chichester 3-love. So what do you think Deck needs to do now he's on the back foot after that game? What do you think he needs to do going into the next one?
He's got to try and regain what he was doing in those first two, where he was sort of dominating the tee, punching his opponent into the back corners, making his opponent work and sort of scramble the ball back.
I think,
and then look to take the ball on the volley a little bit more. He didn't seem to be able to do that in that last game. That was down a bit to Peter though. Peter did change his tactics a little bit and stopped Declan being able to do it. So, you know, hats off for Peter for doing that.
Yeah, he played some really good squash in that one.
But then, especially towards the end, you do wonder whether it is going to be the fatigue that hits Declan.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Well, both
it's
of these
not.
are on a bit of jet lag, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
hopefully
they're
it doesn't
both trying to
affect
deal
him.
with it.
But it's, who deals with it the better out of the two, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be after the Lord Mayor show, when you've had such good results against some top players.
Yeah, can you back up after those?
You're feeling a bit tired.
Yeah, you kind of want to celebrate rather than go into a PSL match against someone who's, you know, ranked 20 positions below you, so has got and you have to prove your worth basically against this guy. So the pressure in terms of ranking is on there. He's expected to win.
He's got it all to lose, hasn't he? You know, whereas Peter's got it all to gain.
That's a great start from Deck. It's the aggressive start that he needs to do to make. These are the kind of moves he needs to make to force Peter to.
But it would be against the run of the match so far, because the 3 previous games, Peter's been the one who's been more aggressive at the start of the game and took control. But then Declan's, especially in the first 2, has managed to sort of grab it from him pretty quickly. But it'll be interesting to see if Deck can actually come out and make a good start in this 4th.
Yeah. He might have settled the nerves being able to play such a nice kill in the front in the first point, but yeah, Peter's playing some good length at this point, so Deck has to try and match that at the moment. And this is the kind of safe,
the kind of shot,
classic squash that he needs to play, right? Not the volley cross court nicks, but the force, play a great length, force a loose ball, take the volley in, and force him out of the rally that way. Because he managed it in the first 2 games, but his Deck's quality was better than Peter's movement.
Yeah.
So he's just got to find a way to bring that quality back, even if he is a little bit more tired 3 games later.
I'm sure he'd want to get off court as quickly as he can, but sometimes that, if you've got that in your mind, that cannot be the greatest thing.
Well, a match takes as long as it takes, doesn't it?
That's right. You can't go on court thinking, I'm really tired here. I want to win it in 3, and then suddenly you drop one, and you're putting
pressure on
yourself, on your shoulders, and then it can affect your game and your mental approach, really.
Oh, that's a lovely shot from Greed. Great kill. Well, not kill. Great finish.
Great touch.
Yes.
We'll see it here, look.
Kind of the tactics that Deck needs to employ against Creed is just force him back with a good length, like that quality width from Creed was what forced the loose ball from Deck, and was put away really well by Creed. So
yeah, so it's sort of gone with the match so far. Every game, Peter's sort of
fallen behind. Yeah, and Creed's taken the lead, and it's not been Deck giving him the lead. Deck hasn't played badly at the start of these matches. It's just Creed has come out the gates on every single game, playing really well.
And then in that 3rd, he obviously managed to maintain it.
Yeah, I think if Deck can keep the mental edge in this, and keep the pressure on, Creed might start making mistakes towards the mid and later stages.
Just needs to make him rush a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
He just seems to have a bit of time on the ball at the moment.
Yeah, and all those shots on that rally were just loose. They were around the left-hand side of the right service box. All those kills, and that's not the width that you want to have when you're playing a kill, because it's just it's not even a step. It's just a lunge and a volley.
Yeah.
Not a volley. It's just a lunge and a hit for the other player. So he's really got to sort his width and length out in this.
Oh, that was a bit ambitious.
And that, I think, was a 10, wasn't it?
Did you put that in a 10?
I think so. Looked very short.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah. So Deck Deck's got all to do in this game if he wants to finish it in 4.
His shoulders look like they dropped a little bit as he's standing to return, which is not a great look.
And of course, Creed's got his tail up, which
That's it, is it?
he is quite an emotional player, as we've seen from his disputes with the referees so far in this match.
Yeah, so if he's got it with him, then it's going to be even harder to break, isn't it?
Exactly.
Ooh, bad mistake though there.
I think that's a sign of the confidence that
Going
Creed
for a
has at
shot
the
like that,
moment,
yeah.
and his confidence in the lead that he's got at the moment, that he's willing to take a risk like that. But
If it was up, it was a
cracking
winner.
shot, yeah. We'd be complimenting him
Yeah.
and saying, what does Deck have to do to beat something like that?
Just gone a bit short there, look, with his length. Overhitting it there a bit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, he's not finding that dying length that he had in the first 2.
right, them first 2 games, he was really pinpointing those lengths. Drilling them into the back.
That
like
was
that.
stunning,
That
though.
was more like it.
But
Sometimes
now-
they're just sitting up.
But couldn't maintain it, couldn't do it again. Or maybe should have played a drop shot in that scenario, but
Right.
some very tight balls on this rally.
Yeah. I thought he was going to ask then.
Yeah, same.
No, I want to play it.
It's either a let or a stroke that they've given. I think,
Wait,
yes, let it given.
he plays it.
Yeah, he does.
I'm not
Stayed
sure.
very short, didn't it?
And I'm not sure Peter can get that.
I don't think he was expecting. I think Creed may have expected Deck to stop there, and he
But
didn't.
once he's played it,
He's played it, yeah.
and
But it was
Peter's
very
got no
short.
momentum. He's rooted.
I think
I don't
the
know how
refs-
you can give it
I
that
think
for
all
that.
the refs saw was the lack of access that Creed had, and didn't necessarily take account of the.
But I don't think he was going to get there.
No, I agree. I think the ball stayed very short, and Creed was stood still.
I know,
And I don't
yeah,
think
it
the
was-
referees. I think the only thing the referees saw was the
Yeah,
lack
the-
of access,
maybe the
and just
block.
gave the let. This is better from Deck. He's playing
That's it,
a
yeah.
little bit more accuracy.
That's
He's
right.
playing tight shots. That's
good
such a
pick-up.
nice drop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
this is it. This is what he needs to make him do: run around the court. Because
This is what
Creed
he was
is
doing in
not.
the first 2.
Maybe he won't make
Yeah.
errors straight away, but when he's playing loosely,
Is that level?
yes, let given.
Close.
I think because of the way it
It's better.
came, though, like you could see the path the ball would
Yeah,
have
you
taken if he wanted to
yeah.
cross court it.
I think he could play
so.
that. I can agree with that decision.
But winning opportunity, and Deck didn't take it on that one.
Yeah. That's good length.
So I think he's got to just reset in his mind that length isn't the only way he's going to win against
Mistake.
against Creed from now on, because Creed's playing better. And he's playing catch up at the moment against an in-form Peter Creed. So when he's got those advantages and loose balls on just sat on the tee, he's got to take it in short and have that positivity
lift from
that
Deck.
Creed has at the moment.
It's just hard to get that length better though, Declan, isn't it? That length's coming.
That's good. Taking the volley in, making him move. That's good.
Nice drop. It's tight.
Whoa, how do you get that
Oh,
cross?
good width. Yeah.
That is everything
finish.
Deck needs to do. That's a great rally for Deck. Of course, as a reminder, Birmingham are 2-love up at this, so a win from Creed
Yeah.
would be the victory for Birmingham. So Nottingham are on the comeback push at the moment.
Yeah, we need a big push here from that. He's pulled it back though.
But it is rallies like that that are going to win him this match. It's forcing Creed out of position and forcing him to move. That volley into the front on the backhand.
Oh, nice drop.
That's stunning! Didn't even. Oh, he fell through the lunge, but that
Yeah.
was fantastic drop shot. Great touch on under so much pressure, being so far outstretched. What a
Yeah,
shot!
did well to control that from there,
Yeah,
from that
great effort.
position. Been a little bit off balance.
Yeah.
His foot slipping, giving way a little bit there on the lunge.
Yeah, but he's causing Creed a lot of difficulties all of a sudden when he volleys short
Yeah.
on that backhand. Because he's doing it with a lot of quality and a lot of bite. And Creed, he's fast and he's getting to the balls, but they're not
He's
the
not
quality
being able
that
to
Creed
do
would
anything
want.
with it, is he?
Yeah, he's not being able to do anything with it.
Like there,
and
look, it's just a loose post. Ooh. No, it's clear.
Yeah. And Creed was very far back in the court as well.
Yeah.
Ball didn't reach him until quite far.
Yeah.
Quite late on.
Creed was about where he is now,
Yeah.
back of the service box.
But
By the
6-all
time it's
now,
reached
though.
him,
Yeah, exactly. He's clear. Yeah.
Declan's got back onto the tee.
6-all now though.
Yeah, he's
Deck
pulled
has
it back,
pulled it
from
back really well.
6-2 to 6-all.
This is what Creed
Just
had to
by-
avoid, was giving
yeah.
Deck momentum. Is what served him in the first 2 games. Like Creed would go on that
That's late
run
again.
in the first stage of the game where he'd get up to sort of 5 points and Deck might only get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then Deck would go through like
Yeah,
3,
winning.
4, 5 points in a row,
Yeah, he'd
and suddenly
just
the
turn the
mood
game
has
on
changed
its head.
completely.
Yeah.
So this is Deck needs to up the pace, I think, and Creed needs to slow it down, like that.
Like that.
Oh, what a get! Oh my god!
no, it's
Oh
not
my god!
Wow.
Wow, I think they. I don't know if we have the facilities, can't get the staff, but I'd imagine they'd want the court wiped after that. What an effort!
Oh.
Jeez. I think Deck's been taking lessons
yeah.
from Hannah Ramadan.
Yes, definitely.
Seeing the same physio.
Are they doing yoga classes or?
That's great. He's gone straight he's gone straight on every shot he's had on the volley, and he takes that one cross court.
Yeah, mix it up a bit. Big points now in this match.
That's huge. That
It's a good finish. He's not having a let for that. No.
Look where he
Sorry,
stood.
Pete.
He stood. He's behind the tee line.
Yeah.
That ball stayed pretty short.
Can't have a let for that, I don't
That
think.
touch so low on the
No,
front wall, and the
no.
second bounce. No, I think in that case you have to go around your opponent.
Yeah. I think he's got enough time to get in on the other side. He's fishing there for a stroke.
No, I see
Yeah,
it. It's tight. It's a tight ball, but if
Yeah,
he doesn't have immediate access, and Deck does clear just about in time afterwards. But Peter wants to go forward and play that, doesn't he? So,
yeah.
albeit
Tight
the shot was
decision.
tight, but yeah, hardcore.
That's where it
but
gets a bit of a game of opinions, isn't it? Sometimes it's
yeah,
so close. Sometimes.
no, it is. But at this
Been
level, though, these
with it.
guys, they all know.
Yeah. Contact is going through.
Yeah, but at this level, these guys, they know the rules, and
Peter wants
the
to
rules
chat.
are going to be imposed on them. So if their movement out of the front corners isn't good or great, then you have to be punished for that. And they know that at this level. You can be lenient at the amateur level, but you're talking about 2 top 70 players
Yeah.
in the world. So I think you just have to eat those decisions up and accept them when they go against you.
Test you mentally now, isn't it? When
Yeah,
you get a
it's
couple
tight,
of,
isn't
yeah,
it?
the decisions and the tight. There's no
That's
mistakes.
good.
That's a good finish.
That's good.
from
That's
Declan.
great play from Deck, because he's read Creed, seen that he's going to go cross court, and you see,
But again, he's gone hard.
he doesn't go all the way across the tee. He stays
hard
there.
cross court. Look.
Bang. Yeah. I see the disappointment and frustration on Creed's face as that
Maybe wrong
as
shot
that
selection.
ball goes into the.
It's tight from Deck. Good points for Declan here.
Yeah, you can hear the
Takes
crowd
the
getting
lead.
behind him now
Yeah.
as it gets close and tighter.
Hopefully that can push him over the line.
No bias in this commentary. Oh my
Ooh,
God.
Top of the tin.
Woo! Wait, was it good? I thought it was
think
good, wasn't it?
I think that's caught the top of the tin.
I mean, if it was up, it wasn't good. It was amazing.
Is it? You can't tell from there, can you?
I think
I think
Deck
it-
thinks
it's
it's good,
up,
and Peter
yeah.
thinks it's down. Yeah, it was good.
Hang on.
What a shot from Deck.
9-all. No, it's down.
Wait. Oh, 9-all? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it looked from that angle like Deck thought it was up, didn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe it
saw
was
his facial expression was like,
yeah. I love the
I'm
pause.
lucky there.
Oh, great.
There.
That's the,
Oh,
that's it.
that's the
Yes.
one. Right, we've got
Great
match
power,
point.
great movement. So he's going to have to convert first time, or else he'll face tiebreak. So this is pressure's on for Deck. He doesn't want to extend the match any further than he has to, does he?
No, you don't want to extend this. You want to try and.
It's such
take
a
it
different
first
game,
time,
isn't it, when you're game ball up?
Yeah.
Suddenly you're that close to the finish line, but your
Yeah,
mindset can change, can't it?
That's right.
And you know your
You've
opponent
just got to
has.
play the same. Well, your opponent, it's do or die, isn't it? Oh, mistake.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you play your best squash when you game point down.
Yeah. No, completely. Yeah, because you're trying your best to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Not just game point, but match point especially.
Well, yeah.
So tie break now. This is. Oh, if Creed takes this into a fifth, Deck will be kicking himself,
Yeah.
having game ball. Opportunity though. Slightly wasted. Too long on that drive.
Good length there from Peter.
Yeah, he's up at the
Peter's
pace
finding the
now.
length here. And again,
Deck is not
he hit
comfortable with the pace that
three in a row
Peter
there.
is playing.
Fantastic length. Alright, could we be going to 5?
Oh, I hope not. My nerves can't take it. Although as a squash fan, you kind of have to, because this has been a
that's
very good match. And there it is.
It's all level, 2-all.
So Deck is going to be fuming with himself. So whoever's in his corner has got to talk to him and just calm him down before he gets him back on court. But overall, 2-all in games. This has been a good match so far.
Yeah, quality entertainment for the viewers and everybody who's in the university this evening. Seen two players here really going for it.
Yeah, the quality of shot from Deck has been intermittent as of the last couple of games, but it's been pretty decent overall this match. And the movement from Creed is what's set him. Well, that's what's given him 2 games at this point.
Yeah, he's moving, but I do think he's in these last 2 he has sort of changed his game slightly at times, whereas he's changed the pace a little bit better and.
Yeah, he's adapted.
Yeah.
He's forced the pace in, especially in that tie-break scenario. Deck was under a lot of pressure because of the pace that that Creed was hitting the ball to the back of the court, and that was giving him the advantage. And it wasn't just the hard hitting, but the quality of the shot as well. They were all straight, tight balls that we weren't seeing Creed play.
That's right. Yeah.
At the earlier stages of the match. So he's kind of powered himself up and found a way to
see what Mr.
big
Talbot
himself
said
up on that
to Declan in between games there.
win.
Yeah.
Reminding him of his winner's bonus.
Yeah.
So would you have guessed... no, you went for a 3-0, didn't you?
I went for a 3-love, so that's my
Prediction out the
well
water,
out the
isn't
window,
it?
yeah. Luckily there's no betting booze in here, so I didn't waste any money. So.
No, you got to admit, Creed has played off his rocker though so far against Deck, and potentially there is that little bit of pressure from being the higher ranked player. That means that now Deck is questioning himself a little bit.
That's right.
Plus the aspect that maybe he's
there's a lot of things mentally that are going to come in now. I was 2-love up.
Yeah, so this is going to show a lot of mental strength from Deck if he pulls through.
You know, I'm tired from a long trip. All these things if they get into your mind, can have a massive negative effect.
Yeah.
And it's keeping them out of your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, completely.
Can't let things like that drift into you.
It's like these things that we've been talking about that might get into your mind would make great excuses for Deck as to why he lost this match tonight. And the thing is, he's got to recognise good players win when they're in best form. Great players win when they're not.
Yeah.
So if he wants to really prove himself, then in scenarios like this, where he's, you know, fighting his own ranking and battling potential jet lag, he's got to prove to himself that he can win under these conditions as well, and say that these things are not excuses for me to lose this match.
Yeah. I think also he's playing for his team as well here.
Yeah, he's got to win it.
He'll want to try and keep his, or give his teammates a chance of still winning the match by winning his.
I wonder if the 10 fixtures in a row that Nottingham have won is playing on his mind at all. Probably not. But
Maybe not.
That's a record that he wants to, that Nottingham will want to see maintained.
So the early stages of this fifth, see the match length are just creeping towards an hour now.
It's been a good bout between these two. I mean, at around the hour mark, these guys are professional players. They obviously train to have fitness to last extremely long on a squash court. But oh my goodness!
Hey, we've got the dive. He's getting that as well.
He's back in the rally. That's amazing.
And he's back in now. He's back in.
Like nothing ever happened, isn't it?
He's picking another one up.
I spoke briefly about the poor boasts that Creed was putting in earlier, but that one was that's
always got
gone the wrong way.
Oh, nice.
Pressure getting to him at the end. But the fitness that these two have been working for all these years that they've been on the Pro Tour, it starts to really show when you reach the hour stage of a match. When you've been playing for so long, you've got to keep that quality up. Especially after long burning rallies like that, you've got to be able to back up and play your best squash, even if you have done a dive and some heavy retrieving in the last rally.
Peter's actually making Deck stretch and work here, isn't he?
He is. He's come out the gates as he has done in the last 4 games, very strongly so far, and Deck has managed to keep that strength. I was going to say keep that strength from showing on the scoreboard with still keeping him to lets and such, but here he goes taking a 2-point advantage in the early stage. So Deck's always had to fight back, but in this game, so he's got to prove himself now to be able to do it once again.
Yeah, it's going to be. He'll be careful he doesn't let him get away from him in this fifth.
That's good.
He needed that.
Peter Creed had a little bit of. He played a shot that he didn't need to, and Deck punished it really well. And I think a little bit of overconfidence from Creed, thinking he could make that shot, disappear into the nick, was maybe a little bit foolhardy and not necessary.
I think also Deck needs the support of the home crowd just to help him get over the line here.
Yeah, I mean that adrenaline rush you get when you've got a crowd cheering behind you is huge, isn't it?
That could hopefully come into play as well. If he hits a few winners like he did on that backhand there.
Completely.
That's
quality length from Creed.
Cheer him up a bit. He's not happy about that.
What happened then?
Let's have a look at this one again.
Plays the shot, backcourt boast, and
they called it out.
Oh, they called it out.
Can I presume that the markers called that one out there?
I'm in the best position I can get in the match, and you stop it, and I don't get any
But now Peter's questioning the markers as well. So it looks like there's some dispute.
It's not my shot, it's his shot.
2-3.
Well, I guess all match, I say one thing, he says another.
I'm not sure.
I think we're as undecided as the markers here.
2-3. Was that the score, or was Creed serving?
It was 2-3.
Okay.
Because Declan won on that cross court. Cross court kill previous.
Just playing let.
Just play a let. I'm not sure why. Because the back wall both looked good.
Yeah.
It didn't like it went out.
And no wonder Creed was fuming, because he had a great position in that rally.
There was heard something in the crowd maybe.
No idea.
I said the home crowd might help that, but I didn't mean quite like that. Just changing that pace there again.
Oh, fast paced.
Yeah, hitting it again.
Yeah, good retrieval still from Creed regardless though.
Again, he's started to use that height again.
Oh, that's such a good shot. That was fantastic. Low on the tin, straight into the neck as well. Lovely.
Just takes the pace right off the ball, cuts it in.
I think I play a shot like that once a year.
Chance here again.
This is what he needs to do. He's taking advantage and forcing Creed to do some nasty movements.
He's getting in front of him again, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Punching him long.
Yeah, he's
Been out
found
to
his
volley
length again. He's forcing Creed to hit up on the ball. You can see from the back of the court that Creed is, hitting, bringing in those lobs into the game, but they're not really lobs. They're just shoulder height.
Yeah, they're not.
They're just shoulder height for Deck. So
easy pickings.
exactly. He's playing well here, coming back against the initial surge from Creed.
Yeah.
So, oh my!
I know. Oh, what
is
what
this
a
rally?
that is.
This is great stuff.
This is two players wanting to win a match, isn't it?
Yeah. None of them want to move an inch, do they?
Takes it in short. Declan slowing it down.
You sure?
For a brief shot.
Yeah, it's a good variation
Chance.
from both of these players. There's no,
Declan's got a chance
Oh,
here, yeah.
had to guess from Creed.
Just worked it on
a
those
long rally and
last
turned back.
two shots, he just worked it. Played it in that tight drop. And then it just sat up for him.
Yeah, good deception because Creed obviously reading the straight ball on that occasion.
That's a loose boast there from Peter. He's having to chase again a bit.
Yeah, he's not with the most power, so not forcing a full-on sprint, but he's still making Creed. Deck is still making Creed do
He's working hard here.
move to opposite corners every time.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Saw him coming in and just pushed it that bit wider. Yeah. So he couldn't take it on the volley.
It's something I've never done, but obviously they're playing on a glass court. I wonder if Deck looks in the reflection to watch the movement.
Good point.
I think I've seen that once before with Rodriguez playing on a PSA event, and he looks directly into the and plays the opposite direction.
That's a good point, that. You don't get that advantage on a faster court, do you? Have to have a conversation with Declan about that, see if they actually do that. They do see the reflections.
Oh!
Finish, yeah. He's on a great run of form here. These last 4 or 5 points.
This has been, he was 3-1 down and he's gone straight through. It's disheartening for Creed because he's got to do something now, and Deck has come from losing 2 games in a row and having game ball in the 4th to now having this run of points where every point he's played, he's earned. Apart from that last one where he got given it by Creed.
Yeah. This is he's looking in a very strong position now.
He is, I think.
Because Creed,
He might have just broken the back of Creed on this one.
That drop shot there in that last rally. If Creed's really got to gather himself.
Yeah.
After that mistake.
I won't claim that it's over yet because we've seen comebacks in this match before, haven't we?
That's right. Well, he's come back from 2 down to be 2 all.
But
the crowd are enjoying this now.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him. The way he storms to get the ball and run to the.
That body language is now.
He wants this.
Really positive.
Yeah. There's no slouching. Look at the crowd reaction to that. Because he's a crowd player. You saw him in Hong Kong. If you watched that, when he played some amazing shots, he was getting the crowd up out of their seats.
That's right. It just
It fuels him, exactly.
It fuels him. Ooh, we could have had that. Oh, we could have had a stroke there, Deck. Do you think, Sam?
Yeah, no, I agree. Could have, should have. didn't.
Felt confident. Thought he'd play it.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad width actually that he played off it, but Creed
next shot,
building his
wasn't
way
it?
back into it. Just 2 points away now. He can't see. Hopefully, he doesn't see the finish line too early because he doesn't want to let Creed back into this. But
He's got to keep doing what he's got to keep doing what he's been doing in this.
Yeah,
These last sort of 8-9 points.
he's got to just play with confidence. That's what he's been doing. He can't allow that concentration to be broken. I mean, Deck's great when he gets on a run of points, and he can. He's one of a rare few players who are able to do that. That's a bit special, isn't it?
Maybe that's what Peter's got to do from here in.
Well, it is. I mean, this is the kind of thing that would break your momentum up completely, wouldn't it? That little bit of unorthodox play that you haven't been using all match long means your opponent can't predict you nearly as easily, which is what it comes down to when it means...
Put a couple back.
You know, I bet when it comes to that run of points that Deck had, a lot of it was down to his ability to read his opponent. So the more flamboyant and unpredictable Creed can play at this point will just break up
break
Deck's rhythm a bit. And we've seen it now that Deck, instead of playing outright winners, has been tinning it on a cross-court nick attempt, which, you know, if he'd have done it, if he'd have had that rally immediately after or as part of his string of points, I bet that one would have gone up.
Yeah, it'd have rolled out the neck, wouldn't it?
It would have.
Being patient in this rally, it's a big point, you can tell.
It is.
Declan's being patient, just pushing him.
So we're just being informed by our director that at this point Richie Fallows has won his match against his opponent, whose name I don't remember. Who is he playing? Richie Fallows.
Richie Fallows playing Jamie Haycox.
Jamie Haycox. Yeah, so Richie won that one 3-2.
Oh, another.
Which is a great effort from
big game
from
there,
Richie, and means that Nottingham are now... Well, Richie's
Back
done
to
what he
2-1.
needed to. He did his part.
So this takes... this is even bigger now because
It is, yeah.
If Richie's got over the line in his game, then...
Because the comeback is still on at this point.
Yeah. If Declan can win this game, then it's all level at 2-all.
But just as
in
we
the
said...
match overall.
A bit too overhit there.
Both. Some long rallies here.
This is rough.
Oh,
lovely shot.
Drop into the net.
So this is the story of this game has just been a run of points after run of points.
Yeah.
Deck lost that little bit of momentum, and now look at the score line.
Okay.
Peter Creed's come from 9-3 down
9-3 to 9-7. So
to
4 points in
bringing
a row.
it just 2 points away from his opponent. So Deck's got to do something.
Oh, what's he now as well? Ooh.
I think
Big decision.
I think he'll get a let on that.
Yep.
I think that's fair because he just doesn't know where his opponent is. And the referee
Could do with a
just seen that.
crowd whipping this one up here.
I know, yeah.
Come on.
I think he needs a little bit of a spark in his...
Too quiet for my liking, the crowd there. If I was playing, I'd like them to be cheering me on. Trying to spur me on.
No, agreed.
That's what home advantage is for, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And they've been cheering him on when he's been playing good, but playing well, but Deck's having to earn that support, isn't he? The crowd are saying
it's at these points where you
need it most.
Yeah. You know, you've just had the other guys had a run of 4 and pulled it back to within 2 points. You could do it just pushing on. See if
he just needs one really good winner.
Have you seen it there? He keeps getting them back.
He does. Movement is stunning.
Getting these shots back. Oh no!
Oh, that would have been a winner as well. He just had to open his legs.
Oh no! How unfortunate is that? I think it's just hit his shoes.
That's so unfortunate. Look at the crowd reaction.
Peter's nowhere. He's not getting that.
No, he's not. No, I mean,
I don't know what they're asking for. Maybe it's something pre.
What is actual rule? I don't know. But it was winner. Was the rally was dead? No, because it wasn't the ball to go back. He couldn't go back. It was the rally was dead.
Can't be a conversation about. that being a stroke. Well, I think it's got to be something else.
I think he's arguing that Creed will get into it, but if you hit yourself, it's a stroke part of the rules, isn't it? Sorry, are they playing lead? Well, Creed isn't happy, so I think they're playing a lead.
So if he's on the floor, he's dived, and I run in and hit it, and he's come back and hit me when he's on the floor. He's playing that.
7, 9, 11.
Oh, well, that is everything that Deck needed. What a winner.
If ever a time to play the shot like that.
Yeah.
That was it.
What a way to earn game ball. No, match ball, rather.
Still struggling to see what happened in that previous decision.
No, I think they definitely played a let on that one, but I don't understand how.
Why? I can't see why.
No.
That's it.
I mean,
Something previous. Oh,
touche.
there you go.
But of course.
Turn into a Nick fest at the end of this.
What do you reckon? Go for something off the serve?
Why not? If you're tired, definitely.
If you're tired, I wouldn't risk it. Good enough.
Good length there from Peter.
That
what a drop.
really nice.
Under control.
Yeah. Not a lot of fear in that shot, was there?
No. Are we going to get 2-all 10-all? Chance.
Still in the rally, but
He's in charge here. Oh,
how long? Wow.
another nick.
Right, Deck's got to rebuild
Yeah.
here. He had one good nick, but Creed fought back with one of his own and a
2-all.
solid point.
2-all 10-all. I think that. I don't know about you, Sam. I think the match depends on this. The whole match.
Well, it does. Now,
Match point.
Deck has had 4 game balls overall in this match, and now Peter Creed has his first.
Yeah,
That's the
It's not a let, surely.
Yep, referees are just playing handout.
Yeah, that's a winner.
Yeah, even the movement of Creed, the referees deeming can't make that.
No. Wow.
75-minute marathon match this. What an effort from these two.
No sign of jet lag now, is there?
Oh, too good. That is an excellent whip.
He just sort of
He
gambled, didn't he? He knew it was
Well,
coming.
I'll tell you what,
He's
that's
gone for it, look.
squeaky bum time for Deck James, isn't it? As he plays that shot
Wow.
and sees Creed leaping over to try and volley it.
Picked up, caught a nick there.
So 5th game ball.
Oh, it stayed in. Pete thinking it was out. I thought it stayed in.
Can't comment.
Oh, no!
Oh, good God, this is too tense.
Oh my gosh.
You know, if any Birmingham fans are watching right now, they are going to be livid with us. Come on, Peter, you can do it.
Told you.
This is turning into an exhibition at the end of this bit.
You don't need to rally. Chop it in the neck.
They're too tired.
Fatigue's is kicking in. We're just hitting nicks instead.
God, it's so nervy at this
Another
point.
chance. Yeah.
75 minutes later. Oh, that's
What were we doing there?
That's got to be it. That's it.
Nottingham.
That is it. I'd have given him
The
a
match.
stroke. I think he's.
Yeah, it came out. It was
fair
sweet,
enough,
didn't it?
yeah. What a match.
Shame to end like that.
Oh, edge of your seat
Right,
stuff.
it was a
That was
wild game.
incredible. And Deck, albeit only just,
Yes.
keeps Nottingham in the fight for this match. And
That's all on.
yeah, so it's 2-2 now. 2-2. Richie won on the last. Richie just won his match 3-2. Deck wins his in the tie break. So the bottom two seeds losing for Nottingham. And
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could start to take your seats, we're going to get things underway very shortly.
hello and welcome to the fourth round of the PSL. Tonight, the University of Nottingham take on University of Birmingham Lions in an all-out clash between great players tonight. Our first matchup in the women's is going to be rank 58 in the world, Hannah Ramadan, against Millie Tomlinson, ranked 22. Deck James is going to take on Peter Creed, and Nick Matthew is going to take on Joel Makin, all streamed live on onsquashable.tv. We're also live on Unilad, on England Squash on YouTube, and we'll hand you over now to our MC.
You all done, Nick? Thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to squash fans and the wider viewing public to the University of Nottingham and this brilliant squash facility here at the David Ross Sports Village. We're all looking forward to tonight's Premier Squash League tie. The current PSL champions, University of Nottingham versus
to welcome you back to the number 1 seeds here this evening between Nottingham and Birmingham, and also like to welcome into the commentary box with myself, Kevin Emery, is Paul Walters. Evening, Paul.
Good evening, Kevin.
It's all set up for this final match. The number 1s we've got, obviously for Nottingham we've got Nick Matthew, and for Birmingham we've got Joel Makin. Both players you know quite a lot about, Paul.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult one to not to be too forthright with opinions on this one. Obviously, two players that I'm very close with, and two players that are sort of at different stages in their career. Obviously, Nick's announced that this is going to be his last season on the World Tour. He's got a couple of huge goals in front of him, namely the World Championships in December, and obviously the Commonwealth Games next year. And Joel, new kid on the block in many respects, another Welshman, hugely talented, fantastic mover, a work ethic that is second to none. Works very closely with Rob Owen, the Robert Owen Academy in West Warwick. A real sponge in terms of absorbing information and feedback and looking at every opportunity to improve his game. The strides he's made in the last sort of 12 months are really significant, and I do genuinely believe he's a real star, not just of the British game but of the world game going forward.
So you feel that he'll be able to introduce himself on that world stage and potentially, would you say, getting into that top 10?
Absolutely. I think there's so many parallels to me with someone like Paul Cole. Paul sort of come at it relatively late. He's come at it with a real strong physicality.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of similarities there. Again, Paul was under the radar for such a long time, making sort of slow movement, but positive movement, going in the right direction, and all of a sudden went to St George's last year, had a huge win, and it really propelled him into World's top 10. And in many respects, I think Joel is capable of that. Physically, I think he's the match of any player on tour. His racket work is improving almost on a daily basis. Yeah. So I think there's a real opportunity for him in the game. And again, another player that is going to take on whoever it is, the Egyptians, all of these fair players with a work ethic, a technique that is a strong mental approach, second to none.
And that's something that's in the game at the moment. Is taking on the Egyptians, isn't it? Because they've dominating at the moment. As we saw in Hong Kong, they had 7 out of the 8 quarter-finalists. Mohammed seems to be winning most things at the minute.
I think
we need to try and break that if we can, don't we, over here?
Absolutely. Hong Kong was probably an extreme, but is probably an indication of what's going to happen, if not in the near future, medium to longer term, unless someone like Joel, Paul Cole, and other players on the World Tour really sort of take the challenge to them. They've got to find ways to overcome the Egyptian approach. A lot of those players are very skillful, very talented, very instinctive in the way that they play. And I think Paul Cole in particular has showed that there is another way to beat the Egyptians. Maybe at times is not always as exciting and as unpredictable, but nonetheless it's very effective. And again, there's so many parallels between Nick, the ultimate technician, the ultimate mover, an ultimate professional, and I think he's a role model, not just for Joel, but any player that really wants to take on that Egyptian challenge.
Yeah, and do you think, I'd say tonight this could be a huge game for Joel, because if he can give Nick a good game on this stage tonight, again, the confidence it would give him to be able to push on and maybe bring that to the tour could be invaluable.
I think what Nick gives is he gives a level of consistency and professionalism that you know what you're going to get. You know, you're going to get 100% every time.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if Joel plays well and does well, it will mean a lot more, because he knows that, you know, Nick's consistency is always there. So I think it's a real good signpost for him, and a real good indication for him to measure exactly where he is with his own game.
Yeah.
You know, from Nick's perspective, you know, he had a slight back problem following Qatar. He's had to take a week's enforced rest. Thankfully, it was nothing too serious. And again, you know, what he'll be doing here ahead of the World Team Championships, and probably equally as important for Nick, and I know he loves representing England, but, you know, the individual championships in December, it will be a good opportunity to have a real tough game with a player that he's got a lot of respect for, a player he knows will give a lot, will give everything, and it's also on an all glass court as well, which, you know,
Always adds to the
exactly
to the game, doesn't it?
Sam's come back in the into the commentary box. So Sam, again, you know, what's your thoughts going into this?
Well, in this match, of course, Joel has a lot to prove in this match. Like, he wants to know that in the future there's a possibility of him competing at a top 10 level. And of course, Nick is just coming off an unfortunate injury, which he's obviously going to be possibly slightly dampened in his movement and his and maybe not playing at his absolute best that he could be, which is always not ideal. But I think the ranking difference between these two is going to shine through, and whilst Joel is going to put up a good fight, I still think Nick is not going to be good enough. And the start of this one, it's showing through. Nick is playing some consistently strong length that Joel is struggling to deal with. Nick is playing quite an attritional game, as he always tends to, so he's obviously not worried about his fitness at least at the moment. We'll have to see how that progresses throughout the match, and so it's going to be up to Joel to do something quite special tonight, I think, if he wants to take the victory for Birmingham.
It's a very positive start from Nick here, showing all the sort of attributes that he's shown throughout his career. Just happy to play the rallies if he needs to. Making Joel work all around the court. Taking that volley in early again there. Look, anybody who's watching at home, see how Nick is always hunting for that volley. And there's a great length there. And in again. Oh, what a finish. Cross-court kill. But in that rally alone, it was just, I think he hit 3 volleys where he's just coming in on that backhand side. And then that, just putting the pressure on Joel.
There's an interesting technical point there. Sorry to interrupt, Kevin, but there's an interesting technical point. When you see Joel go to the front on that backhand, but, you know, when he's under the most extreme pressure, you'll actually see him put his left hand down onto the court, and that'll be something that Nick, I'm sure, well, I know Nick is very aware of, and that'll be something he'll look to exploit. When they've met previously, particularly as the matches have progressed, you've seen Joel perspire a lot, and he's leaving a lot of, on occasions with his hand, he's leaving water on the court, and that's something that really sort of, you know, Nick is very, very aware of. You know, he's very conscious of his movement. He is a superb mover, and you know, there's been occasions, particularly on the hot courts, where the water stayed on the floor, and it's really sort of caused the match at times to be a little bit disjointed.
So would Nick therefore play short into that front corner to make Joel then sort of put his hand down more and slip into that corner later on?
I just think that Nick probably recognises as a, if not a technical issue, certainly, you know, something that's quite specific to Joel. And again, you know, when you are putting that left hand down, it must impact your balance, and it must to a certain extent impact your movement and probably his ability to quickly get out of that corner. So I think Nick will be looking to exploit that more by attacking that front left-hand corner.
So he's possibly using that hand there because he's maybe losing a little bit of balance as he's going into that front corner. Therefore, he's having to put that down to push himself back up. Whereas rather than using, as you would normally use your legs to push up back up it.
I agree with that as well. I think we saw earlier on one of the beginning points of the rally. This opening game. Joel played just a scrambling ball to get it back off of one of Nick's volleys, and Nick just immediately slammed it into the cross-court Nick, which was an incredible shot. And it just highlighted potentially the lack of movement out of the front left for Joel, and shows that Nick knows how to take advantage of that.
I think Nick's frustrated with himself there. You could see he had the whole left-hand side of the court to play into, and for whatever reason he tries to play that shot. And you can see him here, look, why have I not played it there? It's uncharacteristic of him, really.
Forever the perfectionist.
Yeah.
No left, and out.
That's why he's been where he's been for so long, though, isn't it? Always looking to perfect his game, even now.
It was for you not to make contact. It was for you not to make contact.
I think one of the many sort of reasons for his success is he's always looking for that improvement. I know, working with his coach David Pearson, even as recently as the last sort of 6 months, they've made slight adjustments to his grip, which Nick attributes to an improvement in his game.
Right.
So whilst he recognises that he's not getting any younger, he's again always looking for that technical improvement, that little bit of an edge.
Tweak that might give him that 1% extra.
And there's very few players at 21, 22 who would be unwilling to make those sort of changes, and here he is, twilight of his career, 37 years of age. It's absolutely incredible, coming into one of the biggest years he'll have on the World Tour, and he's always looking for that little bit of an edge.
Willing to make that technical change, and seeing the positives for it, that he might get that little bit extra out of his game.
And
at this stage.
And having spoken to David, the way that, what Nick said to him, several months ago is, look, if I was 24 and not 30, 36, 37, what would you be recommending I do? And David said, well, I think an area that you can improve is that grip. And he said, well, okay, then let's do it. And it's quite a statement.
Joel's pulled himself back in this game. He's got back to 6-7 now. So he's really hanging in there.
From the flying start that Nick had at the beginning,
yeah.
he's played a couple of unforced errors, and Joel's played some good squash, and he's brought himself back from 5-love deficit to within 1 point now.
Yeah, we've just seen a few uncharacteristic mistakes from Nick in this game, in this little section of the game.
Yeah, potentially a little bit of rusty from match play in the last week, if he's not been training as hard as he usually would have. We saw earlier that he was frustrated with himself for not picking the right side of the court to pick, and that might just to hit a shot too. So then that might just be a sign of that's a lovely drop shot though. A sign of his match play or tactical mind not being
fully tuned.
Exactly.
Saw a couple of videos recently, sort of on Facebook, with Nick. One of which was about his sort of training methods and how he's adapting, and how much now it's the warm up and the cool down is just as long as his exercise that he does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're 37 years of age, it's you can't really afford to have a day where you can't train. So the cooling down phase is massively important. I remember speaking to him once, and he was explaining that one of his coaches when he was a junior, who could barely walk, explained to him, this is what happens if you don't stretch. So from then on, he just always stretched. Sorry?
He took that on board and
Yeah.
Yes, lads, 8-6.
Took it to heart completely.
but it was also saying about managing his like sort of little niggles and things like that, and how important it is to if you correct something just because it feels alright for a certain amount of time doesn't mean then you neglect it. You keep on top of that, so you keep maintaining it all the time, so things like that don't come back again.
8-6.
And that's very important, because you see a lot of players, definitely at sort of club level and things like that, they get an injury and they just don't sort of monitor it, take care of it properly, and then therefore it just affects you all the time. Nice there.
Mandel, 7-8.
Yeah, we seem to be talking a lot about Nick and Joel making, quietly going about his business, pulling it back 7-8, and showing a little bit of flair there to go with his athleticism.
Yeah, he's played some good squash in this match. I mean, he's definitely got to win the first one if he wants to have any luck in this match. I don't think Nick will let him back into this match if he goes 1 or 2 love up. So Joel may well have to pick up his game, and he's doing the right things at the moment, but he's just losing out to the sheer quality that Nick is putting out in this match so far. But as I say, if he does want to win this match, then the first game he's going to have to win it. So this 2-point deficit he's going to have to overcome.
You can see there that the sheer quality of Nick's length, particularly on the backhand side. Only on a couple of occasions was Joel's ball deep enough for it to actually take Nick off the tee. Whereas a lot of the time Nick's sort of moving across that tee. He's got a huge wingspan, taking the ball very early, hitting, keeping his composure. Really strong on his movement, forcing Joel to work a lot around him.
Yeah, it's a massive part of Nick's game to dominate that tee area, and something that him and David Pearson, obviously, they whenever you see their videos on YouTube of with squash skills or whatever other squash coaching channel, they're always preaching the importance of maintaining dominance on the tee. So something that Nick has truly mastered in his career, and he's putting in a good schooling of Joel at the moment in terms of keeping on top of the tee and playing a good length to maintain that position. But still, Joel plugs on.
Immaculate length actually there from Joel, and great change of direction.
That length there sort of created the opening. See it here, look. Punches it down the line, Nick scrambles it back, and Nick hold and then bang. Whips it across.
Technically, from Joel there, that's as good as it gets. Great, as you say, great length, great change of pace, real positive on the ball.
Starting to actually volley a lot more as well, isn't he? Here, look. He's holding that tee position a lot better. Nick's actually having to work a little bit more than he was before. See Paul, technical point with the left hand was there in that front corner.
Big point.
Oh,
Joel's just
Joel's
getting
his back.
absolutely
I don't know how
everything
he's
back.
getting his back. Nick's wondering what he's got to do here. Oh, amazing stuff. Fantastic retrieval there from Joel.
Some absolutely stunning stuff from Joel making. You almost thought at one point that Nick might feel the pressure of the retrieval abilities of Joel and put it in the tin just trying to hit that slightly too low a shot, but always an immaculate length from Nick, and Joel managing to get it back. An amazing rally.
I think
Nick game ball.
Nick's showing his experience, I think, not to get frustrated about all those pickups coming back. He just kept his head and knowing that he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because he was working him.
But a rally like that is obviously going to be very hard for Joel to...
It's tough on the legs, isn't it?
Yeah, the lactic acid is going to be coursing through his...
There's the
just
again.
the retrieval from Joel is stunning. And it's gotten him back in the rally so well at the moment. Oh, poor error.
Not really in a great position to try and play that, but
so Joel's showing
tough
some
and
good
good.
things in that game, though, must be said. Some great qualities
see
from
here,
Joel,
comes
especially in terms
centre,
of his
but-
retrieving.
see that right arm's really having to pull into his body as he's trying to hit that, and therefore he just can't sort of swing through the ball.
He's going to be disappointed, I think, with the way that he finished that game. With that shot there, quite uncharacteristic. He's put so much work, to get back into that game, and then he's not thrown it away, but just maybe a little bit too relaxed on the ball, lacked a little bit of purpose. You could see, particularly with the closing couple of rallies, that Nick was really making him work hard. And with the way that Joel was countering that was to lift the ball. He's taken the ball in short really well, but as that game progressed, you could see that under most extreme pressure, he was really lifting the ball, giving himself time, giving himself the opportunity to get back onto the tee, and that's a lesson that he's most definitely learned from Nick. No one is better in the game at doing that. And that's the way that Nick's able to extend the rallies, get himself back into the rally, get himself back into games, and really start to frustrate his opponents. And he's done that to Joel in that game, and you can see that the influence that all of those practice matches that these two have are shown through.
So do these two guys practice regularly together, Paul?
Yeah, Joel's obviously, as I said, he's based at West Warwick's, and in terms of where he's based, he's working with Rob Owen and his academy there. He's got some great players to train with, but he does once a week, twice a week venture over to Sheffield. Nick's always looking for training partners, particularly sort of in the immediate lead up to a major tournament. So for Joel, it's a great opportunity to get on court with the best, and for Nick, it's a great opportunity to put in some quality match play against someone that he knows if he's not 100% on his game, he's going to make it very, very difficult for him.
It sounds like Joel's willing to sort of move around the country, do what it needs to do to be able to train with the best and learn from the best.
Yeah, I think that probably the way I described him before is he's a sponge for information, and I think that's why he worked particularly well with Rob. Rob is very knowledgeable with the game, and you can see that with the results that his players are getting, and he's the perfect sort of coach for Joel in many respects, because he's worked upon his technical aspects, which now you can really see are harnessed together with his physical capability.
So looking forward into this match then, what do you think Joel has to do to worry Nick Matthew in this one?
I don't think he's going to worry Nick. I think what he's got to do is he's got to take him on in the middle of the court. He's got to take him on physically. He's got to make it hard for Nick. This, in many respects, is the first match back for Nick. So, he's not going to be doubting himself, but he's going to be put in a real match. And I think what Joel's got to do here is stay positive, He's got to take the ball early. He's got to make the pace very quick, and he's got to make it hard for Nick. And at that point, Nick is then going to start to question himself, particularly if he makes a couple of unforced errors.
Of course, Nick is making these rallies as long as possible, and you'd have to say it might just it's going to benefit Nick more than Joel, as someone who's more experienced in constantly playing those longer types of rallies.
I think as well, equally significant is that he is extending the rallies, but he's also playing a very much an all-court game. You can see a lot of attacking drops, you can see a lot of attacking boasts. He's really trying to work Joel, so he's not content just by staying in the match. He's looking to dominate. He's looking to dominate with the tee, he's looking to move Joel around the court, and looking to take every opportunity to be positive.
It's an awareness of Joel's movement as well. That's a lovely shot choice. It's an awareness of the movement abilities of Joel, that he is trying to be attacking, because he knows that he can't hurt someone who is as fit as Joel on just a length game. But at the moment, he's playing in a style that has Joel doing most of the effort at the moment. So it's not equal, and the what Joel has to do is try and equalise that and potentially make Nick move more, because at the moment Nick is probably feeling still match fresh, whereas Joel has been doing some excruciating movements at the start of this and all through the first game.
I think one of the big things from this is you see with Nick, you can't let him volley the ball. Whenever he's taking it early, he's making Joel really having to work really hard and sort of almost double his efforts. If Joel can just stop Nick from sort of dominating the tee, taking the ball on the volley as much as he does, then that could give him an inroad in. But right there, he's getting it past him, actually making Nick get into the back of the court. It just anything there, he'll look to volley that ball, won't he? Again. Just volley, isn't it?
We talked about his domination in this game. We look at the score and it's 4-all. It's quite.
Yeah.
I think that is equally telling.
Yeah. I think those a couple of points early on, Nick did make a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, but equally Joel's maybe forcing in that a little bit. I think if he can just play with that bit more pace.
Well, Nick, of course, is going to be playing rallies that Joel isn't necessarily that used to the length of the rallies that Nick is playing, at least on a glass court. So stylistically, Nick is playing lengthy rallies, albeit still aggressive, and Joel might just be feeling like he needs to do something in these rallies to get a point, and as you say, forcing it. So it's the ability of Nick to dominate the court, albeit with a scoreline, as we said, of only 5-4 now, 5-all rather.
It's 5-all, but see again there from the back of the court, mistake from Nick, which we don't sort of see all too often, do we? He's
no,
on
it's
top
not
of his
something
game.
he does too often now.
Nice shot that up front there, though.
Very seldom does Nick look for the cheap point, and there has been a couple of occasions this game, and the rally before was a typical example where he's got to get that balance between being positive and actually not constructing his rally in the way that he would normally expect to.
And that's maybe a little bit of where he's been out for a week or so, that match practice maybe.
Could be. Could also be that maybe he's just trying to find his range and looking for a little bit of variety. He'll be keen to put in a polished performance, but he'll also be keen to try different things, find his range,
to be looking to do things in this match really that is going to take forward into things that are coming ahead. Most dominantly the World Championships in December.
Yes, I mean that's his immediate goal is the World Team Championships. He's going to be partnering with James Wilstrop, Darrell, and Adrian Waller. So he'll be very keen, to support England and to put in a huge couple of huge performances in order to defend that World Team title. Thereafter, everything will be focused on Manchester, and he'll be looking for this to be a stepping stone. The final little piece of preparation for a busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, not ideal coming into, 3 or so weeks before you're starting off your campaign for the World Team Championships. Not ideal to have a back injury in that period, but so far against Joel, he's playing his style of game, isn't it? He's making a few errors, but that's the type of thing that match play and more training is going to be able to later on help him fine-tune out, so that those unforced errors where he's aiming for just above that tin, he doesn't necessarily need to do that, so he'll be fine-tuning with that over the next period. But in this game though, Joel has once again found himself only within 1 point. A level with Nick, which is a very impressive feat to 8-all in the latter stage of this second game.
What's key for Joel now is to stay positive and keep doing what he's been doing well all game. Stay with that game plan, stay positive, and look to be assertive. He certainly can't wait for Nick to make errors. He's got to take the game to him. He's got to stay positive. As with all matches, the business end of these games are absolutely crucial, and this is where Nick, consistently through his career, has proven himself to be the very, very best. It's not what you do at the beginning of the game, it's what you do at the business end, which is where we're finding ourselves now.
Just on a technical point with Joel, really concentrate on watching him there. I noticed when he's playing, he sort of twizzles his hand a bit, turns his hand through the rally. Don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe it's a little.
Sometimes.
Little habit.
Yeah.
It's nice that he has time.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know that. Of course I don't. How that's going to help you, maybe especially in a quick fire rally. You can turn him there.
He is a player that I know sweats a lot,
right, so
and it could originally emanate from something like that. I don't know. I don't think it'll be specific to this match. I think it'll probably be a bit of a habit that's been born from many years and many matches.
So looking ahead to onto the World Championship, for anyone who's sort of watching out there and listening, is the first part of it starts the 8th of December, and is that the team championships at first, and then we go on to the singles?
Team championships are in France, and then there's a little break, and then the AJ Bell PSA World Championships start in Manchester on the Friday, with the finals, final stages, quarter-finals, semi-finals and finals being staged at Manchester Central. That's the Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I think the Sunday is the 17th.
Yeah.
I should know that.
Yeah. So the World Teams in France. When does that start?
That's next week. So
that's next week.
Yeah, very, very close. And obviously Egypt will probably be the favourites.
Yeah.
France probably in a similar sort of situation to England in some respects. Gregory certainly been the form player in the first half of this year. Has had an injury, just coming back, and I think, as Hong Kong would suggest, obviously Egypt have to be the favourites, but I know that France and England in particular will be looking to put a stiff challenge.
Yeah.
So 2-love. Again, we talked about the business end of the game. We talked about a tight 8-all. And Nick, just characteristic fashion, just closing.
Just closes the game out. So 2-love lead in the deciding rubber. Nick Matthew leads 2-love. How do you see this one going from here? Do you think Nick's going to see this through? We can see Joel continue to battle and maybe change the flow of this one.
I think Nick's going to be keen to get off court 3-love. I think that's it's going to be a big effort this next game. I think he'll look to inject a lot of pace. He'll look to be positive, but really attack the back of the court and look for openings. And that way he'll be able to get a real test of where he is. He needs to be quick because the closing in 15 minutes. So.
Luckily, I think they keep it open just for us. I think they just leave that on by accident. That's very unfortunate. At any rate, Joel has everything to do now. He's come close to earning both of these games, but Nick has, as you said, proved his worth and taken both the games, at least in the end phase, very well. He's done everything he's done in the rest of the game. He's maintained those tactics and he's forced Joel off court with attritionally, with still not to say that he's not doing attacking play, but the movement of Joel is of course extending the rallies that and I think Joel is burning out faster than Nick is at this point, so he's going to have to change the direction that's going at the moment if he wants to take a game off Nick at this point. But in terms of the match, I think Nick, if he continues to do what he's been doing so far, Nick will be able to take this in 3, I believe.
With the exception of the end of that first game when you saw some real brutal rallies, I actually don't think Nick has hurt Joel.
Really? I thought I would have said the movement that Joel's been putting in the whole match, he's been doing not dives but kind of starfishing onto the floor a lot to get a lot of retrievals, which is some hard movement to get down that low and to come back up again, all during the rally. And these rallies have all been extremely long. Is the fitness of Joel that good?
For Joel, I think that's meat and drink. The key to Nick and to really sort of accelerate that tiredness within Joel is to break the game and to hold and hit, to break his movement. Joel is such a wonderful mover and he covers the court so well. It's important that not only are you putting him in all areas of the court, but you're actually creating that element of doubt in his movement as well. And I think possibly that's something that Nick would like to improve upon this next game.
Did Nick almost try to receive serve then? Or claim the point on that serve? That's an aggressive rally from Nick. He started the game well here and Joel has kind of been caught napping at the moment. So there's the exploitation you talked about in the first game of Joel's movement into the front left. And Nick pouncing on the opportunity.
Nick doing a little bit of gardening on the floor.
That's good of him. Digging a hole in the middle of the court. He's trying to stop Joel's movement, that's what he's trying to do, trip him up.
He's a very much an OCD type of personality. Reminds me in so many respects of Jonathan Trott, the cricketer. He was always scratching around and doing the gardening when he was at the crease, and Nick very much the same on the squash court.
Absolutely, he serves the same way every single time. You'll see him run to the back back of the court, wipe his hand on the wall, then wipe his hand on the side of the wall, and then bounce it. I think bounce the ball 7 times on the right hand side of the court, and then take a serve. And it's almost every single rally he does something to that effect.
I know he's a very proud Yorkshireman and probably like to be. He's got to be likened to a cricketer. He'd probably prefer an analogy with Vaughan or the current England captain Joe Root. But for me, it's he's very much got a lot of the personality there of a Jonathan Trott.
If I knew anything about cricket, I'd talk about cricket and extend on that. But sadly, I don't. I think I'm solely knowledgeable in squash, and even that is questionable.
In there between games, Nick's just examining his backhand technique. He's obviously not happy with something.
Quick fire rally, this one.
But again, just look at that movement across the court, volleying.
Yeah, it's very aggressive, isn't it? He's using that movement, which he's not the fastest on court, but he's one of the most aggressive movers. Where you see some players who use their speed to just get themselves out of trouble. Nick is one of the few players who have kind of mastered the art of using your movement to be as aggressive as possible, even if it's not the speediest movement of all the players on the world tour.
He'll probably recognise himself that probably isn't moving as quickly as he was 2 or 3 years ago, but he's still a very, very fine mover. I think probably a better way to describe his movement would be efficient. For me, he doesn't expend any additional energy to what he needs to. Very, very efficient, very calculating in all aspects of his squash. Again, in terms of calculation there, you can see just breaking the rhythm, hitting the ball down the middle of the court, and just making life a little bit uncomfortable and unpredictable for Joel.
Yeah, I agree completely. When you watch his technique, Nick is very robotic about the whole affair. You see his movement when he's on the tee, he always maintains the same stance along the backhand wall. He's always slightly to the left of the tee, and he always has his racket ready to go. And you watch when he volleys, it's very very iconic when you see Nick's volley. You recognise that this is the way that Nick plays his shot, and not many other people volley quite in the same way that he does and move quite in the same way he does. He's not a fluid mover like a Farag or a Serb, but he's certainly calculated, robotic. He knows how to get into the corners, and it's you're right, it's efficient and it's very effective.
He's super efficient, really, isn't he? He's getting control of this game here.
It's probably the kind of thing that Joel has to work on going into the future. His movement is stunning. He's rapid, getting into all the corners. But you just get the sense that it's not as practiced.
It's not just all about being able to move quickly, is it? It's being able to position, move correctly.
Yeah, completely.
Nottingham. 8-3.
Nick's just trying to break it up a little bit again.
Surprising, really, because Joel really hasn't got into this game at all. Raced away from him. But again, there's nothing sort of... I don't mean this, in any way, but there's nothing sort of memorable or distinctive about this game. There's no sort of dominant feature. Nick clearly has played better.
I've noticed throughout the match, I feel the same, but again we just saw another backhand drop into the tin from Nick. And I think he maybe throughout the match there's maybe 4 or 5 of those. And just that particular shot, and that's maybe something where he's going to be going away and working on. I don't know if that's the technique where the grip he's been changing and working on, whether that's adding to that.
In
I
that
don't know, but-
respect, you're so unaccustomed to Nick making an error.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Whenever he makes an error, we probably read a lot more into it
True.
than there actually is. Yes, I think you're right. I think he has made a few errors on that backhand side, but I think he's got his rewards from that side as well. I mean, his length in particular on the backhand, I think, has been very, very special.
Until you make an error. I'm picking up on.
6-8.
Joel just brought himself back into this game. As we said, we thought Nick was sort of going away, but he has just brought himself back in now from 7-3 down to 8-6. And again, he's in a position where he's sort of fighting at the end of the game again.
Exactly, and it's difficult to sort of really pinpoint anything that's significantly changed. It just seems to be, wavering from one player to the next without any sort of defining tactic or any obvious weakness or strength in one of the players.
But now this game is, in fairness, starting to close out for Nick. He's only 2 points away at this point. And Joel's had a good couple of rallies, but now he's just given away, given Nick the match ball on this one.
He did sort of lob a couple up there to start that rally and sort of got himself in it, but then
Yeah, he built the rally quite well,
he's
but
made
sort
a
of
mistake.
was a bit
Probably didn't
eager.
need to go for it.
Yeah, exactly. He was a bit eager to finish it when it's like he thought he'd done the good work, but Nick's quality of lob was too good. But now it's a big opportunity now for Nick to close out this match.
On top in this rally, another starfish.
And that's it. That's it. Nottingham take the fixture, coming back from 2 matches to love down. There's a great effort from, especially Deck James winning in a tie-break in the 5th game. But
He did say that at the time. That obviously was a big match, a big ending there. Probably all hinged on that. And it's sort of, that's bared fruit, hasn't it? It did hinge on that one match, on that tie-break 2-2 with the number 2s there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great effort off court from Richie Fallows as well, getting on the side court, winning his game 3-2 as well. So a lot of close games in this one. But now, overall, Hannah lost her game 3-1 against Millie Tomlinson. Lewis Walters lost 3-0 against Jan van der Herwegen. Richie won 3-2 against Jamie Haycox. Deck wins 3-2 against Peter Creed, and Nick Matthew wins 3-0 against Joel Macon, bringing back the victory for Nottingham and extending their wins in the PSL to a grand total of 11 games in a row now.
11 straight wins. That's some going,
Quite
isn't
impressive, isn't it? It's a very good effort. And I think the last couple have been coming back from 2-love down. So tremendous efforts from the top half of our Nottingham squad. But I want to thank everyone very much for listening. I've been Sam Jones.
it? Kevin Emery.
And Paul Walters. Hopefully see you next time.